Hey everybody. Today we are going to be going over every single album that I have listened to that has come out from the year 2024. It is once again that time of the year. This year was pretty damn insane for music. I know I say that like every year, but I mean, if you know, right? Like everyone dropped an album this year, or like almost everyone. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's been very eventful. Like I don't know if anyone's going to release anything next year, but on this list, I believe we have 270 albums to talk about. It's going to be a long video, so sit back, relax, get that popcorn. A few things I wanted to get out of the way before we get fully started. First of all, the way I'm ranking everything. It's my personal score for each of these albums out of 10. Don't take it too seriously. I feel like that's kind of obvious, but I just wanted to throw it out there anyway. Some of the albums I don't have much to say about. I'm just going to speed through. We have a lot to get through, so I don't want to spend a million years on each album. But the ones I do have a lot to say about, I will go in depth about. Another thing I'm going to be doing specifically with this list is a lot of albums were sent to me by people on Album of the Year. Like people who made their own music and albums and projects sent their stuff to me, and I listened to a lot of them. And that also being said, thank you to anyone who decided to give Winter Break by 5 Point Palm Exploding Heart Technique and my solo EP, Older by Stay Home, a listen. I really appreciate it. It means literally the entire world to me. If you enjoyed the 5 Point EP, keep an eye out for new music from us because we have a lot in store and I'm really, really excited about it. So with all of that being said, I think that's all I have to say. I'm pretty sure. I hope so. Let's get going. All right, first album. Already a banger album. You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. Crazy we're starting out with this one. This is in my like top 5 of the year. I'm putting it right here. This album is so relentless. It's so heavy. It's so insane. It's really short. It's like 27 minutes, but this album like truly unlocked something in me. The performances, the production, the songwriting, everything flows together so nicely. It's all just off the charts. This album makes you feel like you're being murdered. Like, I don't know. The amount of beat switches and breakdowns that just go insanely hard are countless on this thing. When it comes to favorites, the whole album is literally like, there are no misses on this thing, but I think my favorites are Suffocate with Poppy. She does an amazing job as a feature on that album. She has just an amazing sort of screamy voice. The reggaeton breakdown on that song is hilarious and kind of amazing as well. Thirst is another one that I love. It's just such a great way to start the album. Like 15 seconds of eerie ambience, and then out of nowhere, just... It's insane. It's awesome. And I also love Take Me Home. That might be my favorite on the album just because of the fucking drop at the end of that shit. It is so heavy. It literally sounds like someone just broke down your door. I also want to mention Don't Reach For Me. Absolutely love just the amount of different switch ups in that song. Yeah, I mean, even lyrically, this album is really intense, shouting out, religion and trauma and stuff like that. But yeah, it's an amazing album. If you haven't given it a shot, please do. If you like heavier music, it is just absolutely insane and worth your time. Worth all of the praise it's been getting, in my opinion.
Suffocate! Scratching at the surface of my face! Take me!
Here we have This Old House by Mary in the Junkyard. This list is also going to include EPs, and this is an EP. I've never heard of this group before. They're definitely going to be on my radar in the future because it's a 4-song EP that just it's all really solid, kind of raw and emotional indie rock. There's touches of violin on the last couple tracks, and Teeth, the final track, is my favorite example of that. I also love how smooth and catchy Marble Arc is. Solid stuff here for sure. Kaleidoscope by Turquoise Death. Throwing it right up here. I've always been excited to see what Turquoise Death was going to do next. I loved Say Bueno. His last record was a bit shoegazier. This one is a little bit more solely electronic focused, more like drum and bass focused. I think it's really good. I think it's just really solid overall, like consistent, engaging, just a lot of ear candy across the board. So Far Away has a more emotive tone that I really like, and Underneath is a really impressive closer. It's like 10 minutes. Negative Spaces by Poppy, solid stuff here. As I was just talking about, Poppy has an amazing voice, and I feel like it's badass all around. This album kind of has some alt metal stuff going on, but also has a touch of that metalcore in there, and those are my favorite moments, which are The Center's Falling Out. That song is fucking incredible. Reminds me a lot of the Knocked Loose record, and also They're All Around Us is another really good one in that sort of just outbursts of crazy energy. And I also really like Halo, which is a bit more stripped back, a bit more kind of bare bones in some ways, and more melodical, and I really like that. It's kind of an interesting choice for a closer. Hyperdrama by Justice. I know a lot of people were looking forward to this one this year. I'm going to put it right here. I think there are some absolute bangers on this one. The Tame Impala feature on Never Ender is really fun. And Generator is the one song I actually would call like really, really good. Bop, banger, goes so hard. You like bump that shit in the car. I think some moments are a bit strange and kind of slow down when they didn't really need to, in my opinion, but it's a solid record for sure. I Got Heaven by Mannequin Pussy. This band has always been fucking awesome, and this new record is really cool. I think it totally switches things up from what they were doing before, because what they were doing before was a little bit more straight to the point and aggressive. This has some more indie rock flair, alt rock flair. Songs like I Got Heaven, which is the title track, and Loud Bark, both really good. The chorus of Loud Bark is super memorable. Here we have Imaginary Conversations by Kevin Coleman. Kind of a niche, like, progressive folk artist I happened to stumble upon, and this album's decent. I think that things just get a bit tedious every now and then. Like, I don't think there's a song under 7 minutes with this album, and it's just 3 songs. Yeah, I think it's a little bit tedious, but the overall ambition to it is something I do appreciate, especially the last track. Here we have Love and Rage by Shooting Daggers, a Riot Girl kind of punk album that I fuck with. I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of intensity, but also some decent variety too. It's kind of interesting how they even dive into like shoegaze on some tracks, mainly like A Guilty Conscience Needs an Accuser. I don't know, it's just badass, it has Riot Girl vibes, and I fuck with it. The Death and Birth of an Angel by Falling with Scissors. This is a metalcore EP. It is just off the walls. It's very similar to the intensity of like the Knocked Loose record I talked about. I would say more overblown, which I didn't think you could even get with this, you know, after hearing something like the Knocked Loose record, but Tripping Wires and Atrophy Angel are my 2 favorites. Ooh, okay, Childish Gambino. I'm gonna go ahead and do both of the Gambino albums that came out this year. I'll probably be doing that with any artist who released like 2 albums. Here we have Bando Stone and The New World. It's a very interesting one. If I'm correct, this is his last album under the Gambino name, I'm pretty sure. It feels very, like, movie-esque, and I think that there literally is going to be a movie that comes out with this album, which is very interesting. I feel like that could maybe put it more into context, but as it stands, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. There are definitely highlights, like Lithonia just goes freaking hard as hell. And I also really like Dadvocate. I think that one is very sweet. But there are some more like trap-influenced moments that don't really do too much for me. I'm just not much of a trap person in general. I definitely admire him doing something different, being a little bit weirder. And then we have Atavista, which I think is a little bit more consistent. I still don't love every moment of it. There are some questionable moments, extremely questionable moments, like Littlefoot, Bigfoot. I don't know why that song is on here. But I do like it more than Bando Stone, mainly because of the song Final Church. That song is amazing. I think that's the best song he's released since Awaken My Love. It's so badass. It's so climactic. It feels perfect for a closer to the album. And the vocal performance is just wild on that one too. The piano is great. It's an amazing track. Amazing track. I also really like the title track. Still a bit of a mixed bag. Still a bit all over the place. I feel like past records were maybe a little bit more concise, but yeah, Childish Gambino, very talented person. Okay, Moon Music by Coldplay. It's fine. You know, it exists. It's an album that exists. As someone who generally likes Coldplay, I don't know. It's just like I honestly like some of their more recent output. Some of it I like Ghost Stories quite a bit. These songs just feel very cookie cutter. The singles were okay. I even expected a little bit more from Little Sims on We Pray. I don't know. This is just kind of in one ear and out the other for me. Okay, next we have Twikipedia. I'm going to grab the other project they released this year. Here we are. First we have Still Life, which is just, it's cute. It's a cute little EP. It was before they released their full length from this year. It's kind of twee poppy, indie poppy. Don't have too much to say about it, but it's cute. It's cute. I'd put it like right here. And then their full length album was For the Rest of Your Life. It has that kind of shoegazy, indie rock, noise poppy sort of thing that a lot of artists have been doing lately, like Paranol and Asian Glow and stuff like that. I think there are more interesting versions of this sort of sound, but I still like it. I'd still put it like right here. There's some really nice twinkly electronics throughout, and I like the song Wind Chimes a good bit, and Cardboard Boxes. I think those are great songs. Solid project for sure. I mean, it's kind of hard to dislike this sort of sound, at least to me. Here we have Light Verse by Iron and Wine. I've been meaning to listen to more Iron and Wine. I've heard the name for a long time, and I know they have some classics under their belt. This new record is pretty damn good. Very, very light, pretty voice. It sits very nicely on top of everything. It's just so nice on the ears all around. There are some really impressive moments like Tears That Don't Matter. Very expansive. Almost like reminds me a little bit of Sugar Rose somehow. Or even like Bon Iver. I think Bon Iver is a more accurate comparison because there's a kind of folk overtone with this one. And I also really like You Never Know. I think that's a great track.
Some pieces of seashell. You're only empty as lost and found.
Next up we have American Standard by Uniform. This was kind of a last minute listen for me this year. It was recommended by one of my friends, and it is just absolutely insane. Oh my god. To those who like Chat Pile or even like Swans, this one might be for you. I think the vocals are the most hit or miss thing about it, but the overall vibe and the overall like riffage going on here is badass. It's insane. You have a 20 plus minute title track that, yeah, it's all insane. It's a very crazy listen, but if you like the bands I mentioned, you might want to give this one a shot. We have Shh by King Cruel. This is what I'm assuming to be a B-sides kind of EP from his last full-length record, Space Heavy, and it's pretty good. I really like Space Heavy. I think it's his best project. I mean, as a collection of B-sides, it's nice. I think It's All Soup Now is my favorite for just it being very, like, off-kilter, but I really like that. I think it makes it very unique. My Method Actor by Nolufuri Yanya. I heard her record from a couple years ago. It was Painless. Yes, that record was very good. I think I do like Painless more, but this one's still pretty cool because it adds a bit of a folkier overtone. I really enjoy Ready for Sun and Mutations. Those are both really good songs. Strung by Pond. This record gives me Tame Impala vibes for sure. Maybe a bit bloated with the track list. It's a lot of songs. But there's some fun bass lines, some fun grooves. It's still an overall nice listen. Ooh, okay, this is a big one. Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. This album is interesting. It's not my absolute favorite from him. I still think Igor is my favorite, but I do like this one a lot more than Call Me If You Get Lost. And I thought there were some good songs on Call Me If You Get Lost, but this definitely feels like more of an experience. I love the themes of paranoia on this album, especially on the song Noid, which is probably my favorite. His lyrics are super clever on that one, because it's something that I think a lot of people with fame go through, right? Like not really being able to be a normal person. You're scared of, that anything could happen to you. Like someone could just come up to you with a gun or something, it's like, it's scary, but I love the way that he puts it into words on that track. I also really like how he dives into themes of his heritage. I like how he dives into like kind of real world situations, like a pregnancy scare, like on Hey Jane. I thought that's one of the best songs lyrically of the year for sure. Maybe not my favorite sonically, but one of the best lyrically. Yeah, it's really good. I think it's probably my second favorite from him. There are still some moments that don't fully click with me. I'm not the biggest fan of Sticky. I'm sorry. I'm just not the biggest Lil Wayne or Sexy Red fan. But yeah, it's a banger album.
I can't even buy a home in private. Home invaders got my brothers dying. Notice every car that's driving by. I think my neighbors want me dead. Roll my windows up, dialing, rolling windows up. Biscuit ass niggas wonder how I got my jiffy up. Almost had a mini me, I wasn't ready. And she wanted it with me, I'm talking heavy.
Here we have Daniel by Real Estate. This is just a completely listenable and fine indie pop record. It kind of just went in one ear and out the other for me. Ooh, okay. Let's see if I can get the title right. 13-inch Frank Beltram. Wait, 13-inch Frank Beltram Italian stiletto with bison horn grips? Did I get it? Did I do it? By Shushu. Yeah, this thing kicks ass. I'm putting it all the way up here. This record is a lot more accessible, a lot more digestible, a lot more pop-oriented, kind of noise pop, with some psychedelia thrown in there. And it's great. I love it. And I'm so glad I clicked with it, because I want to get the hype around Shushu, and I feel like I do a bit more now. My favorite songs, I think my number one is, what is it, Beneficium? Yeah, that song is just so impressive, so insane, such a banger. That groove, that drum groove, it's so tight. I also love Common Loon. I think my second favorite would be Sleep Boulevard. I just love the freaking guitar riff in the chorus. It's so earwormy. So many great songs. I mean, Maestro One Chord, TD, FTW, like, it's all really good. It's a very consistent, really well-made album. Here we have Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons. I had no clue this was the Portishead singer. And that's so freaking cool. She has an amazing voice. I've always thought that, especially with Portishead. But yeah, this is a great solo record. I'm going to put it probably right here. So layered. It's so dense. It's so beautiful. It's a very nice folky sound. Layers and layers of pads, violins, backing vocals, and all of that sort of stuff. You could tell so much was put into this album. Floating on a Moment, Lost Changes, Reaching Out. Those are probably my favorites. Luck and Strange by David Gilmour. This is the guitarist of Pink Floyd and singer. So that's pretty insane that he just randomly released a new album. I had no clue this was coming out. It's pretty good. It's not like anything insane, but it kind of reminds me of Division Bell from Pink Floyd. Very nice, well put together art rock. Here we have Two Star and the Dream Police by McGee. I thought this album was decent. It wasn't entirely for me. I know some people will just be disagreeing, but it's just a very strange blend of genres. And I feel like the songwriting is good, but just the execution didn't hit me as much. Again, I wouldn't say there's anything bad on this album. It's just not entirely for me. Last Chance to See by Salvia Palth. I really like this one. I think this is a pretty underrated album. For anyone who may or may not know, Salvia Palth released the album Melancholy in I think 2013, and he made it when he was I think it was 15 or something like that. And It took a while, but a lot of the songs on that album are super popular now because of, TikTok or whatever. And now he's back with his first album in, I believe, 11 years under the Salvia Plath name. And I think I like it even more than Melancholy. It's still very DIY. It's still very lo-fi. But again, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that makes it great. It's a very hypnotic album. It's very imperfect, but I don't mind that at all because I think that sort of adds to the charm and the vibe of the album. I'm Gonna Find Out is probably my favorite song. It's just so catchy. The little lead. I really love the closing track, Still I Struggle. It's a very sad, kind of melancholic way to end it, but still has a lot of those catchy elements. Best Friend on the Cross, Stabbed in the Small of the Back. I mean, there's a ton of great songs. I highly recommend it. It may not be for everyone, but I think Salvia Plath did some really good stuff here. Here we have Tiger's Blood by Waxahatchee, an alt-country record, kind of, singer-songwriter-esque. I think it's a very well-made album, it's just not my cup of tea. And I do like some alt-country stuff, I really do, and we'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, it's a very well-made album, the guitars sound super crisp, the vocals sound nice. I don't know, as an album, it didn't pull me in as much. It's still not bad, though. Charm by Clairo, pretty good, yeah. I think a lot of people are actually saying this is her best. And I think I agree. I still, I've never fully clicked with Clairo. She has some good songs, but it's never been, instantaneous with her music for me. But this is, again, it's just very nice on the ears. Her music has always been like that. I love Slow Dance. That's the one song I do really like a lot. I think it's the catchiest and smoothest. Here we have What an Enormous Room by Taurus. A bit of an experimental indie rock sort of listen thing. There's even some post-punk vibes, especially on the song Life as We Don't Know. It's pretty good. I think some of it's maybe a little one note in just some areas, but a pretty interesting listen. 3 by Fortet. Just some nice electronic stuff. I've heard about Fortet a lot in the past. I think I like what I've heard from Fortet previously, maybe a little bit more. But I honestly find this to be a good background music album. Solid production, vibes are solid. Scatter Sun by Parannoul. This is a strange one. You know what? I'm actually going to do both the Parannoul albums. Okay. Scatter Sun is a duo album with Fax Gang. I've never heard of them before. He adds some sort of rap vibes on top of Parannoul's shoegaze sound. It's just a very weird mix, and I think it's hit or miss in that department, but I did overall enjoy the album. It's definitely a bit of an experiment, or at least it feels like that. But then we have Sky 100, which absolutely took the internet by storm. I remember when it came out, everyone was just freaking the hell out about it, saying it's the best album ever. And respect it. I think it's pretty good. I do have some issues with it, though, personally. And look, I know this album is on the top of plenty of people's year-end lists, and I get it. It's just a little too overblown in some areas, maybe just a little too noisy in some areas. I think the drums just kind of take away from it a little bit. I don't know. That's just me. I think on an album like After the Magic or To See the Next Part of the Dream, I think it's just done a little bit better there in terms of mixing and the vibe. But the song structures themselves, impressive, especially on Evoke Me. That's my favorite song pretty easily. The vibes are good all across this thing. And yeah, it's Parannoul doing their thing, just with a different kind of palette. And it's just not my favorite palette that I've heard from them. But again, still an enjoyable listen. It's still in the 7 out of 10 range. I still like it. All right, y'all. I fucking love this album, okay? This is the most underrated band ever, okay? This is in my top 3 of the year. That's how much I love this album. We have Harbor Century by Unix. Oh my god. I'm putting it, it's my favorite out of everything we've talked about so far. Ugh, okay. The sort of deal with this album, what kind of happened, because I listened to it pretty much right when it came out. It shot to the top of the charts because a lot of people were liking the avant-prog, kind of insane shit that this album brought to the table. And I think it kind of sunk from the charts a little bit because a lot of people were like, oh, it's just a Black Midi ripoff. Oh, it's just blah, 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 right? I couldn't disagree more. I really couldn't. I think this is on par with some of the best Black Midi stuff. I think there's plenty about this album that sets it apart. First of all, instrumentation is insane. Just like, on a Black Midi record, but you have harps, and you have plenty of piano, violins, horns, and the same guitars, right? It's just so impressive to make this sort of thing and pull it off the way they did. And I think Linus, I think he's the vocalist, he has a very unique voice. I love when he rambles like super quickly. It's so just fucking awesome. Like, it gives me chills, especially on the end of a song like Pat a Dragon, which, oh my god, don't even get me started on the breakdown of that song, where the kind of main motif of the song is slowed down and then it gets faster and faster and faster. It's just so intense. It's so amazing. That song is incredible. And I love the theming of this album. I feel like this is a concept album pretty obviously. And I still haven't figured it all out yet because it's a lot. Like, you look at the lyrics of this album and there's just so much going on. But I think the story of this album is set in kind of a landscape or reality where there are parts of society that have like higher ups, or there are parts of society that control the whole, And it's all very like set within this ocean sort of theme. There's some religious themes in here too. I don't know, it's just all so interesting. Heroin King has one of the best endings to any song I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. The ending of that song gives me chills every single goddamn time I listen to it. One of the coolest melodic lines I've ever heard. One of the most intense vocal performances I've ever heard. He how the fuck does he not run out of breath? Like, he just keeps going and going and going and going.
Suddenly run by the tribes, suddenly run by the factory, suddenly run by the mines, suddenly run by the heroin
Feels like you're in a giant theater and this is being played to you. Oh, Magic Death Sea Nemesis. That was my most listened to song of the year from Spotify Wrapped. That was my most listened to song. I'm not lying when I'm telling y'all I listened to this album a shit ton this year. And I love the story to it. It's like they're out in the middle of the ocean and this giant beast attacks them and they get like shoved off the boat and like multiple people die. It's crazy. It's such a nerdy album and I kind of love it for that. It's just so much fun to listen to. There's so much to pick apart. And in Magic Death Sea Nemesis, I love the part where he's like,
You gonna do something about it or shake like a dog who has his fucking head kicked in? I push him off the fucking boat! I'm sailing!
That whole part, it's so cool. It's so awesome. I could nerd out about it forever. I also have to mention Siren, probably the jazziest song on the album. It's incredible. I love that one.
Warm parts and unchecked ceremony. I love you, but you're not going to sleep.
Bird Angel Dynasty is another huge highlight. And it even has some very pretty moments too. It's so well made. Probably the most underrated band I'm going to talk about on this list. I cannot recommend them enough, especially if you like prog, especially if you like Black Midi. Give them a shot. I cannot wait to see what they do next. They've got that spark. They really do. But yeah, I'm done. I could go on, but I'm done. Only God Was Above Us by Vampire Weekend. Okay, I know a lot of people love this one this year. I know a lot of people did. I personally have just never been the biggest Vampire Weekend fan. I don't know. They're just a little too, like, I guess peppy is the word to use. For some reason, they just don't strike me as like my favorite breed of indie rock. But regardless, I'm glad a lot of people did enjoy this one this year. It is a very well made album. Like the production, playing, performances, it's all really good. Johann Sebastian Baklava the Doctor by Action Bronson. Quite the album name. Never heard of this dude before, but I saw it, decided to give it a listen. Smooth vibes. I think the vocal performances are the best part about the album. There's some pretty clever lines. The beats themselves, I feel like, can get a little bit one note. I think Nourish a Thug is the exception, because I think the beat on that song goes hard as fuck. Loss of Life by MGMT. Glad to see they're back. It's been quite a bit since they've released an album. I think it's been like 4 years since Little Dark Age, which was a great album. Loss of Life is a bit of a different switch up for them, and I think that's really cool. It still has those kind of psychedelic vibes, but it's even more, I would say, left field in that territory. It's not like as instantly like catchy as something like Oracular Spectacular or Little Dark Age, but I think it makes up for that. The title track is my favorite. I absolutely love the synths on that song, and I really like the acoustic guitar on People in the Streets. I'm going to be doing both of the Good Morning albums that came out this year. We have Good Morning 7. I did not expect them to release 2 records, and they're both pretty good. Good Morning just do what they do, and they do it well. It's simple, but effective. That is the best way I can describe their sound. This record's a little bit more hi-fi than their normal sound, I feel like, but I don't think they sacrifice song quality for that. I really love the song Excalibur.
Allow that to see on the one night, I saw it all alright.
The catchiest on the album. And then their second record, The Accident, I think is even better. Maybe just slightly, but I think it's better. It feels a little bit more of what I'm used to from them, maybe a little bit more lo-fi, which again, I always have enjoyed from them. The final song, Soft Rock Band, is like the longest song they've ever made. I think it's like 8 minutes. And it's just such a smooth, like chill indie vibe, and I think it's done really well. The melodies are really catchy. Good Morning, great indie band. I've always loved them.
There's still so much to go.
Found Heaven by Conan Gray. This album for me has some positives and negatives. I think the voice is great. The production is clean. It just does feel a little bit underdeveloped to me. All right, this one's such a banger. Girl with No Face by Ali X. This album is dark, almost gothic, dare I say, synth pop with some groovy ass songs. I love the title track, especially. Definitely one of my favorites, probably of the year. It's just so groovy. That bass line is to die for. Her voice is absolutely fantastic across the whole record too. I also really enjoy Weird World, Black Eye, and Staying Power. Model by Wallows. My relationship with Wallows is they have some good songs across their career, but I've never been the biggest fan of their whole albums. And I think I feel that way towards this one. It's just perfectly fine. Dramatic Livelihood by Jasmine Bean. A very blunt and solid indie rock, like alt-rock album. I wish it was a little bit more varied, but it is a nice listen. Shin Bangumi, Ginger Root, the new Ginger Root album. This is a super fun listen. There's a lot of funky vibes, kind of poppy. There's good grooves all across this thing. Really good bass. You kind of need that on a record like this. No Problems is probably my favorite on the album. I like the guitar, the kind of wah wah wah. Heavy Jelly by Soft Play. This is a banger punk album. The whole vibe of the album is very in your face, very aggressive. There was a lot of punk albums that were like that this year, I feel. I really like Punk's Dead. I think that's my favorite song. The chorus, like, groove switch is amazing. The one song that really threw me off on first listen, though, is Everything and Nothing, which is the last song. They just threw a fucking mandolin in there. It's just a mandolin-centered song, which is literally one of the last things I could have expected with this album, but it surprisingly is a really good song. Yeah, it's a fun album.
I'm starting to think that there isn't. I don't like change. Times are hard and the bonds keep dropping. Showing no signs of stopping.
Going Through It by Eliza McLam. This is just super nice, easy listening, sort of like singer-songwriter stuff. Some of it is like a little bit one note, but it's, again, a very nice listen overall, very smooth. And there are some nice atmospheres on the album. I think Modern Woman is a fantastic song. Pointy Heights by Fouché. Random indie artist, I do not know who this is. This album is decent, kind of bounces around a lot of styles. And for me, it's just kind of a mixed bag in that department. But Flowers is a really great closer. I think it's very anthemic. It's pretty cool. Here we have a self-titled album from Sophie. God, this one was so weird. I'm going to put it here, and I honestly feel really bad about putting it here because I respect Sophie so much as an artist. Rest in peace to Sophie, for sure. She definitely left a very big impact. And this album, like, when you hear this album and then you listen to Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides, it just feels so radically different. I don't know, this album does just feel very unfinished to me, and I know that's kind of to be expected to some degree, but I don't know, it didn't really do too much for me. But again, I have huge respect to Sophie as an artist. Bright Future by Adrian Lenker. This is a beautiful record. So emotional. I've really come around to appreciate Big Thief and Adrian Lenker's songwriting a good bit more this year. This album is just so raw, so emotional. Like, the first time I just pressed play and Real House started playing, it just killed me. It just killed me. God, what an emotional opener. That might be my favorite song just because of how impactful it is. Her voice is so special. There's so much emotion coming from it. It's just, oh, it's beautiful. Sadness is a Gift is probably another one of my favorites. I love the violin on that one.
You have my heart, I want it back. Good dog. Now 31 and I don't feel strong.
Manning Fireworks by MJ Linderman. So, going back to what I was talking about with Waxahachie, this is the version of that sort of sound that I like the most. It's a really good listen. It's just very laid back, catchy, very charming, and kind of witty, in only a way that I feel like MJ Lenderman can do. I've kind of gotten into him and appreciated him more. She's Leaving You is one of my favorite songs of the year. My God, every single part of that song is unbelievably catchy. I also really like Joker Lips, and Bark at the Moon is a very interesting closer with how long it is, but it's pretty cool. Final Summer by Cloud Nothings. Cloud Nothings have been a bit hit or miss with their recent output. I really love some of their classics, especially Attack on Memory. That album is so fucking good. This one is much more directly indie rock, and I wasn't expecting it to like it as much as I did, honestly. I just think there are a ton of really catchy melodies here. It's not their most substantial work, but it's a very solid listen. Little Rope by Sleater Kinney. This new one is perfectly decent. I think just the songwriting has been more engaging in other parts of Sleater Kinney's career. I mean, that the vocals are the best part about Sleater Kinney to me. Empathogen by Willow. Everything I've heard from Willow up until this point has been a bit hit or miss, but I'm really glad she made an album like this that's very, I feel like, just really artistically out there. And I really like, especially the piano on this album. It's absolutely insane, super impressive. And she really does have a great voice. I think there are some moments that are a little inconsistent. Like, I wish some of the shorter tracks just weren't there. They don't really feel all too necessary for me. But, I mean, songs like Big Feelings and Home and Run, and even the St. Vincent feature on Pain for Fun, it's all really good. Like, those are all really good songs. I'm excited to see where she goes. I really think she has even more potential. In Waves by Jamie XX. I honestly haven't heard that much from Jamie XX outside of this album. I know he was kind of a household name in the house genre, I'm pretty sure. But it's pretty good. I think I'd put it at the top out of 6 out of 10, just because I'm still trying to get into this sort of vibe of house music. It hasn't like clicked yet. But I do really like the song Breather. It feels very Matrix-esque, and I do like that. Ill Times by Gum and Ambrose from King Gizzard. Another album that kind of gives me Tame Impala vibes. It's fun, it's a good time, it's groovy. The title track is a good one, there's some great bass lines. Again, nothing super mind-blowing to me, but I definitely enjoyed it. Feeling Not Found by Origami Angel. This is an interesting one because it's definitely a bit different than anything else Origami Angel has done. They still have their sort of Midwest emo, pop-punky, power pop thing going on, but every now and then they bust into some heavy-ass riffage for a second, which is, it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. I think it can get a bit cheesy or kind of, sometimes it just doesn't feel like it fits the track as much, just for me personally. But I do really like the song Higher Road. All right, I apologize if I butchered the name for this. Corpus de Agua by Sonjos Tomam Kanta. Really cool shoegaze sort of listen here. Immediately I thought of Paranol, and I initially didn't realize it, but they've worked with Paranol before, and that's why I was like, oh wow, this reminds me a little bit of Paranol. The atmosphere is pretty incredible with this one. It sounds exactly like the album cover. Again, not the most groundbreaking shoegaze album I've ever heard, but I do really enjoy a lot of what's going on here. Just atmosphere-wise, it sells it for me. Plastic Death by Glass Beach. This is a great album. I think the best thing about this album is the instrumentals for sure. I don't mind the vocals, but I feel like they get a little bit like mumbly, and I feel like they could have done some more with them, but that being said, I don't think they're bad, and the instrumentals make up for that tenfold. The production is so good too. Everything is super crisp. Like, you can hear every single element in detail with these songs. Coelacanth is probably my favorite, or at least one of my favorites. I love the freaking guitar arpeggio, or kind of like shredding bit towards the end. It's so cool, and there's like xylophones that come out of nowhere. It's crazy. It's a good time. Very intense, very dramatic, and that goes for Comatose as well, which is kind of the penultimate song of the album. It is very dramatic, very huge. It's really good for its long run time. I love the section where it's the title drop. It's like that. Slip Under the Door has an insane breakdown out of nowhere. It like opens super heavy and then it gets super quiet, and then by the end it just punches you in the face again. I love that. Motions is a really good one. A lot of energy there. Cul-de-sac, The CIA, Abyss Angel, those are all other really good ones. It's a great freaking album. I think they can go even further than this. This is a really good and ambitious album, but I'm curious to see what they do next. Laughing Fish by Black Dresses. I believe this is the final Black Dresses album, if I remember correctly. I think it's a bit bloated, but the songs that are great, especially If You Find Me Gone, which is a bit janky, but it's just really catchy and has a lot of ear candy. And I love how overblown Feel Something is. It's a very chaotic listen, very like electronic and industrial sort of influence here on the sound. One More Thing by Lime Garden. Underrated indie band, honestly. If you give me a catchy indie rock album that sticks in my brain, then I'm gonna like it. Love Song or Pine, those are both just so unbelievably catchy. I like how Pine is a little bit more drawn out. The bass line to Love Song is great. Every hook on this album works, at least for the most part, maybe besides the song Floor. But yeah, there's just so many catchy songs. Fears, I Want to Be You. There was definitely a point in this year where I had a lot of these songs on loop. Timeless by K Tronada, another house like R&B kind of inspired album. It's another album that it just feels really bloated. Like, I don't know why it's 21 songs. Like, I don't think it needs to be. It's overall a album that has really good production, but just the songs don't personally grab me as much. I was expecting a little bit more from the Anderson .Paak Thundercat features too. Still glad I gave it a shot. Something in the Room She Moves by Julia Holter. Really interesting art pop album that I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around. It's pretty out there. There's some very gorgeous moments of the album. It's very serene, and I really like it for that. I need to check out some more Julia Holter in general, because I know she has some pretty like acclaimed stuff. Even though not every single moment worked for me, maybe like Me You, I did really enjoy the title track and Evening Mood. Talking to the Whisper is also good. Boy by Two Hollis. I've heard a lot about this dude this year. I think he kind of blew up a little bit more this year. It's kind of hyper pop inspired and very like electro poppy sorta. I don't know. It's one that had some mixed moments, but I really do like some of the standouts, especially You Once Said My Name for the First Time. What a dramatic album opener. It just hits you in the face. And I also really like the song Light, because it bops. It just freaking bops, dude. Song like Lie doesn't do too much for me, or Crush. And I think there are some corny-ass lyrics every now and then, but we all have our corny moments. It's fine. Here's the first user-made album I'm going over. Anything Helps No Drugs, Aller himself. One of my favorite hip-hop records of the year. Honestly, it's great commentary on like the war on drugs and some more personal issues. I love God is Dead. That's a great track. Yeah, I don't know. It's super solid. Huge shout out to Aller himself. In Dreams by Duster. Wow. Yeah, I didn't expect a surprise Duster album this year. That was not on my bingo list. This honestly might be my least favorite Duster album though. They really just didn't switch it up too much on this. It feels just very like kind of cookie cutter Duster to me. And that sucks to say because I really like Duster as a band, like a lot. And I don't think it's a bad album. Like it's a nice listen on the ears, but they've just had so much better, I think. That really lands a feel and a vibe and a specific dreamlike state that this album just doesn't really do for me. Sadness Sets Me Free by Gruff Rise. Kind of another album that has a weird mix of genres. It's like a little bit psychedelic, but also very like kind of folky singer-songwriter stuff. I think the instrumentals to this album are what make it stand out at least a little bit more. I think the vocals are a bit hit or miss, but the songs I do like are pretty awesome on the far side of the dollar. Ready for a hot take? King of the Mischievous South, Volume 2 by Denzel Curry. I'm going to put it right here. I know I'm going to get flack for this one, okay? He's incredible. His lyrical and rapping ability is incredible. This is just my least favorite breed of him. Again, I think I said this earlier. He's not the biggest trap person, and this album is very much a trap hip-hop sort of thing, and it just doesn't do much for me. And again, that being said, I loved his last album, Melt My Eyes. I still love that stuff. It's just this is not my personal favorite breed of Denzel. Sleep Feeling by 18 Days. This is the same person behind Turquoise Death. It's an ambient album that is just really nice on the ears. I've fallen asleep to a few of these tracks. Yeah, it's a nice listen on the ears if you want something relaxing. Oh, hell yes. I'm so excited to talk about this one. A Lonely Sinner by Sam LRC. I'm going to go ahead and grab the EP she released this year as well. I am so fucking glad this album got shared and made waves across the internet in the online music sphere. It deserves every single ounce of praise. It is so good. They're both literally, like, I would say equal in quality. They're both so freaking good. If you like post-rock, if you like art rock, if you like very expansive, very demanding, very huge, very emotional post-rock, give this a shot. Don't miss out. It is so good. And again, this artist started just being like, hey, I released an album. I'm really happy for her. And I really love the theming of the album. There's not too many words spoken, but the theme is very well carried out. Kind of a story of this sheep kind of growing and trying to accept who they are, trying to be confident in themselves even if maybe they can't. And again, to me, it spills as a metaphor for being trans. That's kind of how I see it. It's just beautiful, though. I made a favorite songs video this year, and one of the songs on this album landed on that freaking list, and that's how much I loved it. Philatia, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I hope I am. That song is unbelievable. It's so good. Every moment is just such ear candy, such serene beauty. I've had some already special memories with that song throughout this year. So yeah, that one is just breathtaking. The huge build towards the second half is amazing. The violins that are kind of like raw and almost like disjointed really add to the atmosphere. Let's see, another one of my favorites has got to be Sinner. The drop is incredible. The very fragile vocal delivery. I love the longer songs, what can I say? Storage is also incredible. Amazing riffs, and just, it's honestly really like unexpected. Like seriously, every song on this album is so good. Flower Fields is a piano-centric song, kind of a ballad. I also love Sheep Theme, probably the most like catchy and straight to the point song on the album, but it's still really good. Yeah, this album is an absolute must-hear. It is so good, so deserving of all the praise it's gotten. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. And to quickly go over the Untitled EP as well, it came out a bit after Lonely Sinner. Yeah, it's, again, when I say just as good, I'm telling you, it's two songs. The second song, B, unbelievably good. Probably in the top 3 Sam LRC songs. I remember like hearing that song again after a long time. Chills, shivers. I was tearing up. Like there is pain in these songs. It is definitely a lot more deprived, a lot more raw, but almost feels like an epilogue to A Lonely Sinner. B is fantastic. It is so emotional. It's just chill-inducing all around. Amazing song. I also like A too. It's very raw and just kind of like a little folk intro. Yeah, Sam LRC, amazing artist. Keeping an eye on her music for sure. Again, someone who just deserves all the love and praise in the world for these projects. Clouds in the Sky, They Will Always Be There For Me by Porridge Radio. This is a group that's honestly grown on me a lot since first hearing Water Slide Diving Board or whatever it was called. It was their last record. The melodies, the vocal performances, the emotion, it's very like real. It just feels very real. And I think that very much continues on this album. I really like it. Anybody, the first song on the album just has a great freaking build. A lot of these songs progress in a very like slowly getting louder sort of way. And I'm in a dream, in a painting. Amazing, the ending. Oh my god, the ending of that song is so good. The first half of the song, the vocals could, I feel like, be a little bit more touched up. But the second half is just, oh god, it just really releases that energy. I love the violin on God of Everything Else. It's really lush and catchy. Great song there, too. I will run until I can leave you, and I ran and I screamed and I sobbed and I fell, trying to find... Grief Chapter by Mother Mother. Pretty decent. I do really like a lot of Mother Mother stuff. Like, I'm being honest. I know people will be like, it's Mother Mother. I like Mother Mother, okay? This album is a little bit more alt-rock centric, and I don't know, I feel like it's fine, like, it's just not that memorable. I still think the vocals are unique, I still think the production is hard-hitting, but they've definitely had more engaging albums, I feel like. Holy shit, okay, we are going to talk about Current Joys this time around. Hold on. Current Joys released 2 albums this year. For those who don't know, and for those who haven't heard my rambles already, I fucking love Current Joys with my entire heart and being, okay? I think this year he has done something not many artists have done. He's released one of my favorite albums of the year, hands down, no questions asked, and also one of my least favorite albums of the year. It is so weird. Let's start with my least favorite, okay? He released a part 2 to his Love and Pop series, talking about Nick Radigan's sound. He is an indie musician, kind of like lo-fi indie. He kind of progressed a little bit more to a full band sound with Voyager. And then in 2023, he dropped Love and Pop, which is just such a departure from his sound. It's like cloud rap inspired, I think. Indie, Tronica, I don't know. It was a mixed bag. It was definitely a mixed bag. Don't get me wrong, there were some songs I liked on Love and Pop, but it's just like, what the hell kind of random switch up was that? And then he released part 2. And oh my god, this is a weird ass album. I'm gonna put it in, the 2 out of 10 range. And I feel so bad for doing that because I love this dude. I love his music. This just ain't it for me. This just ain't it for me. The first 2 songs I like, okay? Chain is the first song, and it's edgy as hell and very weird, but it kind of goes hard as shit, so... And then Running on Cocaine is actually, I think, another really good one. Just very catchy, and I don't hate the lyrics that much. But everything else on this album, it's just not for me. I just feels very demo-y, very, like, cringy in some areas to me. I get where he's at, and I know he's trying something different, and I appreciate that. Again, as I said, I always will appreciate that. But, yeah, this one just did not land for me. And then... So the Love and Pop 2, that was earlier this year. Then he dropped East My Love, which I'm going to throw all the way up here. Oh my god, it's so weird, but he made a fucking masterpiece with East My Love, okay? It is my favorite album from him, and that is saying a lot. It's everything I could have asked for as kind of a spiritual successor to Voyager. He brings back in the full band sound, but we're in folkland now, and it's so beautiful. It's so heartfelt. It's so emotional. So many songs I think are genuinely 10 out of 10 tracks. California Rain was the first single, and it blew the fucking socks off my feet. I was so excited. I literally cried, bawled my eyes out to that song when it came out. And the sequel to it, Days of Heaven, which is kind of like a separate track, it's like a pretty much connected to California Rain. It's so breathtaking, gorgeous.
But isn't it nice to get away? Clear my head up.
And then you have probably my favorite song on the album, if I'm being honest, They Shoot Horses. I've cried even more to that song. I will not be ashamed when I say that. I've cried many times to They Shoot Horses. It is so heartbreaking. Oh my god. Go listen to that song right now, and if you don't feel any sort of emotion, I don't think you're human. Like, another thing that makes this album amazing, sorry, kind of going all over the place. The violins. The violins are all over this album, and they were there on Voyager too. They were present, but they are literally like the DNA of this record. And the violins, especially on this song, absolutely soar. They hit so hard. They're beautiful. The melody is so good. It's so fucking good.
Something's gotta.
I also would put up in my top 3 of the album the title track, East My Love, which is probably the most ambitious track he's ever made. It's like 8 minutes, and it's a post-rock song, kind of. Another just jaw-dropper. It is so freaking grand and huge. I think in the second verse, where there's this giant, like, hit and swell of, I guess it's like pads and violins, and like, there's even this bell. It's so cool. It's so cool. I could go on and on. It's this album is so good. Echoes of the Past, another one that really gets me emotional. Slowly Like the Wind. Those are both very stripped back songs, but they do their job so beautifully. Tormenta is kind of a more straight up like indie rock song, but still has so many good melodies and heartbreaking lyrics. Yeah, this album is genuinely incredible. I am so happy I can say that. I got real nervous after Love and Pop 2. I'm not gonna lie. And again, I totally respect him doing something different, but there is just so much pure emotion and power and love put into this album that is undeniable. And as a huge Current Joys and Nick Radigan fan, it is everything I could have asked for. I might butcher the name here. Shoelace and a Knot by Young Gatada? I think that's how you say it. Indie rock, power pop, solid stuff. That's really, in a gist, what I could say about it. I do really like the eclectic vocals, and I really like some of the like tempo and energy changes. Seed of a Seed by Haley Hendrix. This one is beautiful. I needed like this purity in my life that this album gives me. Again, give me my indie folk. Give me my good indie folk with just some beautiful vocals, beautiful production, beautiful songwriting, and even like some of the more intense moments like Gemini, which was kind of unexpected as an opener, really grabbed me, and I really clicked with it as it kept going. Really good dynamics, good push and pull with that track. Love the twang to Foxglove, really catchy. This album feels like you're in the forest. Please give this a listen if you like indie folk or singer-songwriter or any of that stuff.
Tell me truly, what is your dream? Oh, Bobby is kicking around his rolling stone.
Everybody Can't Go by Benny the Butcher. A hip-hop record that I appreciate for the lyrical content and delivery, but I feel like a lot of the features don't do much for me. I do kind of wish some of these beats switched up a little bit more just to keep it a little bit more interesting. Appreciate it, just not one of my favorites of the year. What's Wrong with New York by The Dare? This one definitely blew up. It's a fun album, like it is. It's fun to listen to, but some moments make me scratch my head a little bit, you know? The vocals and the lyrics are just like, you know. I do really like some of these instrumentals, and some of these moments are catchy too, but yeah, it's just a bit of a weird one. I know it did get kind of popular this year, at least a couple tracks did. Keeper of the Shepherd by Hannah Francis. A darker and more emotional, kind of folky thing going on here. It's definitely like pretty out there. It's pretty wild. There's a lot of vibrant instrumentation, and I respect that. The vocals, I do appreciate them. Like, there's obviously a lot of power and emotion in them. It's very vibrato-y, and sometimes it can get just a little much for me. But again, there's a lot to appreciate about this album. I'm going to put it right here. Shout out to Husk. I think that song is honestly breathtaking and pretty easily the best moment here. Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q. I'm a bit hit or miss with Schoolboy Q. I did really like his inclusion on that one Gorillaz song, Pac-Man. I thought he fucking killed it there. Again, this just isn't entirely my favorite breed of hip-hop or rap. Again, there are some trap vibes that appear, and it's just, again, I've said it many a time, it's just not my thing. I will say, the one song I really do like off this album is Pop. That beat goes so hard. But yeah, I'd probably put it here. Again, I feel bad. Like, I really wanted to like this album, because I know a lot of people did. It's just, again, not my favorite breed of hip-hop. It's all just me. It's all just me, and I do still appreciate a lot of what's going on. Party Album by Famous. Kind of an up-and-coming band, sort of, with a really weird edge to them. There's some 80s vibes and, like, the synths, but I don't know. It's just, it's so weird. It's, like, art rocky, too. I don't know. It's very strange. But, yeah, there's some really cool stuff on this, and I checked it out just because it was post-punk. Vocals can be hit or miss, but I really like when he screams, and I also really like the kind of dramatic piano ballad, for some reason, out of nowhere, with Love Will Find a Way for the ending of the album. Heavy Metal, Cameron Winter, it's great, it's so good. For those who don't know, it's the singer of the band Geese, which is one of my favorite modern bands right now. They just have so much character, so much personality, so many good hooks. And this is Cameron's first solo outing, and it's great. Initially, it took me a minute to get used to his vibrato and his vocals. Because, I mean, he did have vibrato in Geese, but it's very, very pronounced here. And it took me a second, but once I got into that, everything totally worked for me. There's a bit of a classic sort of vibe going on here with, like, the folk stuff. Very beautiful, very pretty. $0, that song. Piano is beautiful. The whole God is real thing at the end is pretty funny to me, though. The God is real, I'm not joking this time, I'm being for real, I think he's actually real, oh my God. I do really love the way that song ends, though, with kind of the instrumental. Nausicaa is one of my most replayed songs recently. Oh my God. It's great. It's so catchy. It's so fun. Drinking Age is another super emotional ballad on this album. It's beautiful, piano-centric. Vocals are super powerful. Can't Keep Anything is great. Love Takes Miles is great. It's a very solid listen. Super happy it ended up being as good as it is. I do like the Geese stuff more. I like Geese more, but I mean, just hearing him try this sort of style out and succeeding very heavily in it is great.
Tell me how it feels. Disappear. Watching from the side.
Here we have True Crimes by Jofus. For those who don't know, this is the singer of the band Prince Daddy and the Hyena, a band that I really like. It's an interesting solo record for a first one. It kind of just does feel like an experiment. I think it's a mixed bag. Again, it feels very experimental. There's some moments that even like remind me of hyperpop, which is just crazy knowing Corey from P. Daddy. The song I Hear Chimes is absolutely worth your time. It's a beautiful indie rock song. I wish he went more in that direction on this album because it's so freaking good. I love it. Blue Wave or Wav, I'm gonna guess Wave, by Grandaddy. I've heard a lot about Grandaddy. I've heard about some of the classic stuff that they've done, but this album is fine. It's fine. Just kind of one note. Like, the sound of it is nice and it's kind of psychedelic, but it's just kind of in one ear and out the other. Oh my god, I forgot about this album. The Sime Interdisciplinary Music Ensemble by Sime. This is a weird one. This is like another one kind of in the post-punk avant-prog area, like, you know, Black Midi and Unix and all that. It's pretty good. There's some moments that I don't totally get, because there's a song called The North on here, and it's like super fucking long, and the first like 10 minutes of it just straight up noise and it's chaos, and I'm just like, okay. But then the second half of the song is like super fucking good, and I'm like, god damn it. Though I will say the performances on this album are incredible, truly something to behold. I love A Tyranny's Appeal to Heaven, and especially Lempira, which is my personal favorite. Gotta love all of the guitars, horns, and insane-ass drums, and just crazy songwriting. It's definitely a very ambitious album, and I will be keeping an eye on these guys in the future. The Gloss by Cola. I really like Cola. They're just a very simplistic but very catchy and just nice post-punk band. It's definitely a lot less aggressive than a lot of the post-punk you get these days, but I don't mind that at all. I think the singles were the best part, for sure. Albatross is an amazing song. That was my favorite single, for sure. I really like a bit of the ambition to Bitter Melon. I think that's a really good song. The kind of raking guitars on that one are nice. I think I was hoping for a bit more with the album. I think some songs do get a little bit one note, and I feel like there just could have been more done with them. But yeah, there's some super strong highlights, and I actually also do really love their first album.
Take a freeze frame and tell me how to fix my stride.
Evergreen by Soccer Mommy, perfectly fine. I actually do like this one a little bit more than her last record. A little bit more drawed back, a little bit more singer-songwritery, folky. And again, I feel like other artists can do that sort of thing a little bit better, but it's still done decently enough here. Submarine by the Marias. Yeah, this is a sick album. Very groovy, very fun to listen to. Another album with just really good bass lines. And it's interesting because it's like dream pop, but it's also very vibey and groovy, which is kind of a cool combination. I fuck with that. They remind me a bit of Crumb. And yeah, this album has amazing production. That's one of the best parts about it. Everything is super crisp, so well put together. I love the building sort of nature to No One Noticed. Great melody too.
Maybe I lost my mind.
Woof by Fat Dog. I'm not gonna lie, this is like the highest 8 out of the 8 so far, I think. This album is so fucking fun to listen to. They're like kind of post-punk inspired, but have a very like electronic sort of influence on it, like almost a ravey sort of vibe. Like it feels like you're just bumping that shit, you know? And genuinely some really incredible moments, like King of the Slugs, the longest song. I always love the fucking long song. Like, the whole progression of that song, I love how it starts out really intense, really fast, and then it slows down to this huge grand drop, and then it gets like really quiet, and then speeds up again and gets crazy, and then slows down again. It's just so creative, so well done. Wither has an amazing ending. The freaking drum groove on that thing is crazy. Closer to God, Vigilante, running all other really good tracks. I can't wait to see what they do next. They're just so fun. They're so fun. The vocals are very like almost cartoony and bombastic and over the top, but it totally adds to the atmosphere. Just freaking bump this shit in the car, dude. Like, I highly recommend it.
But I'm the killer slugs so bad.
Okay, here's some more user albums. We have Ocean Blue Glistened by Postmodern. Honestly, a pretty awesome, nice, vibey, ambient record with nice textures of the ocean and everything like that. I definitely like it. Huge props to Postmodern. Crossing the Veil by Hushed Guardians Asunder, which Postmodern is a part of, as well as, I think, Stygian Hollow. Again, another album that was just sent to me. This is an impressive listen. Even if everything isn't entirely my cup of tea, it's a very, like, ambitious, huge, climactic, sort of droney ambient album, like almost tribalistic in some areas. Again, huge props. Big Ideas by Remy Wolf. This is a very fun pop album. Just very like dancey. Love the indie touches. Most of the stuff on this is just really catchy. I especially love the song Soup. Just a ton of fun. Just a ton of fun. Ooh, Centuries. Snow as a Metaphor for Death. This is some sick shit. This is a very niche artist, but they did some amazing stuff with this album. It came out real early this year. Very noise rocky and post-hardcore-esque. It has some like really harsh electronic noise stuff in there. Kind of reminds me of Gilliband in some spots, but really well done. I'm going to put it all the way up here. It's super lo-fi, but also very punchy. It just kicks you in the face, especially performance art. It's extremely chaotic, but just some hard ass drafts and riffs and performances. Entity Selector is straight up just a Gilliband song, but it goes freaking hard. The title track is an insane closer. It's the longest, most ambitious song on the album. Just a very consistent, very interesting, intense listen. Saviors by Green Day. It exists. It's fine. Green Day at this point in their career recently have really not been having too crazy much to offer, in my opinion. I don't know. It's definitely not as bad as like something like Father of All, but I don't know. I've never been personally the biggest Green Day fan in the world, but I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I keep hearing that one song on the radio every time I get into my car though. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah. Bullhead by Slow Hollows. This is the first time I've thought about Slow Hollows in a while with this album, because I think they kind of just stopped for a while. This new album I think is really good. Simple but effective. Another album that that's the name of the game. I really like the title track. It's, again, very like slow and patient, but the melodies and the emotion is there, and that's why I really like it. I also really like Homebody.
The stain etched in your shirt, I'm down, real down. Help me out somehow.
There Goes the Dream by Modern Color. Sick that they released a new album. They're kind of like a post-hardcore band with some emo touches, and I think they are just awesome. Not quite as good as From the Leaves of Your Garden, which is like kind of the album from them, but I still definitely like it. Fortress is an absolute banger. They played that one a lot live, just a great riff. Dark Times by Vince Staples. This is a really powerful listen. I think some of the beats can get maybe a little bit dull every now and then, but I really like the commentary on introspection and kind of life itself, and it has, we live in a society sort of vibes, but it's done really well. It's an album I really do appreciate. Here is another User album. We have Cold Soda by Ghost Minus. An electronic listen, kind of trip-hoppy, pretty psychedelic every now and then too. It's just a fun time, just a vibe to. Huge shout out to Ghost Minus, yeah. Cacophony by Gumshoes. This is a pretty wonky little listen. It's pretty goofy. It's pretty silly. Best thing about this album for me is the performances. The piano is absolutely insane. I don't know, it just has a goofy sort of vibe. I really like the song Last Living Kennedy. I think it's very catchy. Ohio Players by The Black Keys. The Black Keys made another Black Keys album, I think the Beck feature is pretty fun, and also there's just kind of a random hip-hop song with Candy and her friends. Interesting, but again, a lot of the album is just kind of, your standard Black Keys, like blues rock sort of stuff. Micah's Laundry by Matt Champion. Apparently this is one of the Brockhampton members, which is a group I haven't really gotten into that much. I've heard plenty about them. Okay, production-wise, really good. Vocal-wise, not really for me, but I totally get why people like this sort of vibe. It reminds me of Quadeca a little bit, actually. I did kind of enjoy Meeting You, which is the last track, so. Bad Cameo by James Blake and Lil Yachty. What a crazy lineup right there. I was hoping I'd like this more. Like, I really wanted to like this more. Because Let's Start Here, which was his big, huge, whoa, like crazy moment album. I that one was a bit hit or miss for me. I thought there were some insanely good moments on it, though. Again, I want to hop on the Lil Yachty hype chain. I do. But still not the biggest fan of his vocals. That was kind of one of the main problems for me with Let's Start Here. Production, it's James Blake, so he's going to definitely bring some flair to the table. Even with that, some of the songs did just kind of fly by and didn't leave as much of an impression. But yeah, one day I will say I am a Lil Yachty fan. I want to say that one day. The Pixies made a new album, and it's the Pixies making a new album, so that means it's fine. I don't know. Their most recent output, ever since they kind of took a break and came back, it's just been fine. Totally listenable. Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs by Alkaline Trio. Another album I could just say is fine. I'm just not the biggest fan of like the pop punk wave right now. It's just all kind of, it just doesn't feel as ambitious or as like stand out as something like Jeff Rosenstock would be or whatever, right? Some things I feel like could hit a little harder. The drums specifically, and also it just kind of blends together to me. If I Could Sing by Kieran J. Callanan, art poppy sort of thing going on here. Another all over the place sort of listen. You get some 80s vibes too every now and then, especially on Crazier Idea. And I do really like In Absolutes. That stuck with me as a pretty beautiful one. But yeah, it's honestly just fun. Like it's a fun one, even if I don't click with every moment. Russell Boring by Joba. Brimming with a lot of personality. Gives me some Elton John vibes, kind of like that pop rocky sort of thing. Really good vocals. I love especially the theatrical sort of vibe to American Fever. It's really satisfying as a song. Gospel of the Moon, People Need People, good songs.
Far from freedom.
What Happened to the Heart by Aurora, a very dense album, 16 songs and over an hour. I initially was worried just because I didn't know if it would keep my interest for that long, but I honestly think it did. Great vocal performances, really cool atmospheres, especially on Echo of My Shadow. I really like My Body Is Not Mine. Really love the tone switch up with that one. Yeah, it's, again, very dense, but not bloated. Imaginal Disc. Magdalena Bay. Yeah, this is a huge one for many people. I think a lot of people are calling this album of the year, and I do not freaking blame them. Definitely plenty of songs I've had on repeat with this thing. It is just one of the most serene, lush, packed pop albums I've ever heard. Like, truly, it feels so futuristic. It feels so new and modern. I'm sure 10 years, 20 years down the line, this album is still gonna feel super fresh. Beautiful voice, very, like, soft. And that's kind of interesting how it contrasts with some of the punchier, like, groovier stuff. I mean, she can totally bring some power out, but she does stay with that kind of lighter, fluttery tone, which, again, I do not mind. I mean, it's beautiful. The production is so good. This thing sounds so crisp and clean and well put together. I think my favorite song, if I had to choose one, would be Image. The chorus hook is so good. The freaking drop. Fuzzy guitar that's added towards the end is incredible. Death and Romance is another amazing one. Oh my god, dude. Oh, the groove, the drums. Oh my god, that's so good. I really love how diverse the album is too, especially with a song like Tunnel Vision. Has a very like intense, huge, random rock switch up at the end. Cry For Me is beautiful. That's My Floor. Oh, ooh, that one is dirty. So fuzzy and full of life. Totally super catchy as well. Every song on here is really catchy, honestly. Yeah, this is definitely an achievement of an album. No wonder people are talking about it so much. No wonder people love it so much. It really is that good.
Your hips, I'll hope forever.
Ultra 85 by Logic. This was a pretty big win for Logic, I feel like. A lot of people really liked this one, and I did too. I don't like it as much as maybe some other people, but I definitely respect it. I think it's one of the more ambitious and engaging albums he's made from front to back. He's always been a storyteller, and I really enjoyed his storytelling here. Kind of the idea that these two dudes in space are just kind of like discussing a bunch of shit. There's some very clever moments here, and even though the skits are cheesy, I think it does add some charm. Interstellar moved me a lot lyrically, actually. Pretty damn emotional shit. Oh, shit. Here's my number 2 spot for this year, the new sound by Jordy Griep. This is my number 2 spot, not my number 1. I thought it might be, but we will get to my number 1 eventually. Just because it's not number 1 doesn't mean it's not fucking incredible. Oh my god, this album is so good. I am so glad this album is as good as I was hoping it would be, because I didn't know what to expect from a Jordy solo album, but it is literally just Black and MIDI if they were like a little bit Latin influenced and also like, I don't know, still just theatrical and insane and crazy and lyrically wild as all hell. Everything about Jordy Griep and everything about Black MIDI that you normally would love is present on this album. It's all so freaking impressive. If I had to rank everything Black MIDI, I think this album would be second place. I like Hellfire the most still, because I think that album is kind of unbeatable in a lot of ways. It's so insane, but new sound, yeah, it's just, it has those chaotic moments that I absolutely adore. Like Walk Up and Motorbike. Those are probably both my most replayed on the album, especially Walk Up. Like, that song is kind of hilarious. The Magician is obviously like one of the best songs ever, probably. Actually, like, somewhat emotional too. It's crazy.
What's left of a lover? It doesn't exist.
Oh god, that song. It was a tease track for so long because they played it. Black MIDI played it live for so long, but it really lived up to every sort of expectation I could have wanted. And another song I really want to make note of that grew on me a lot, actually 2 songs. Blues grew on me even more, which was really cool because I mean, I really loved it a lot on first listen, but I've been playing it on repeat and I love the freaking message and lyric of the song. It's this like rich asshole that's like full of himself. It's pretty much Jordy putting the facts in front of him and being like, yeah, you're gonna die one day, dude. Like, sorry you're not on top of the world, but you're gonna fucking die. Deal with it. I think that's awesome. There's so many great lines in that song. I love the line where he's like, do beggars still play accordions? You should pay one to follow you around and play your theme. That's such a funny line. And also really fitting, too. And the, soon you'll disappear, and that's the only fact. So fucking cool. That's like the perfect line to end that song on. And the other song I wanted to mention that grew on me even more, As If Waltz. That song grew on me so much. I think it's one of the catchiest songs on the album. One of the most beautiful songs on the album, instrumentally, despite how strange of a story it is. But yeah, I really am just so glad it lived up to, you know, every expectation I could have wanted. I did a whole video on it. It's amazing. It's a great fucking album. Easily, for sure, my number 2 spot of the year.
You must have heard about me. Everyone knows my name.
To take you dancing, to take you out, to get married, to make you mine.
What's left of the lover who doesn't exist, who knows not how many fantasies.
Ooh, here's another fucking great one. Oh my god, yeah. I really, really have been appreciating Father John Misty lately. Pure Comedy, I have been jamming and playing that shit a lot. It is a beautiful, very real, very potent album. And now he released Mahash Mahashana. I think that's how you say it. I suck at pronouncing things. I'm sorry, y'all. It's so good. It's so good. It's, I think, the highest 8 out of 10 so far. I mean, it's a lot more, I'd say, diverse than Pure Comedy, and also his last record, which was Chloe in the 20th Century or whatever. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. I think this album is much more engaging and consistent, and just has some very impressive, bombastic moments. Like the title track, that is so impressive. It's the longest song on the album. It's so grand. The piano is just huge. All the instrumentation is huge. It just feels like a whole orchestra is on that track. Screamland is also just another breathtaking song. I love the freaking drop and very like kind of big pulsating electronics. Mental Health is very emotional, as you would expect. Josh Tillman in the Accidental Dose is great. And She Cleans Up is a song that I did not expect to be in my rotation so much, but it totally works somehow in the album. It's a groovy-ass song. It's super groovy. It's like almost like Viagra Boys-esque. It's so weird. All for it, because that shit is catchy as hell. But yeah, he totally pulled through this year. I've only gained more appreciation for Father John Misty over time, so...
Just
is another user-made album, OTSG by Jake Bruno. Shout out. Very nice ambient record. A lot of ambient user-made albums this year, but yeah, it's just super nice. Very spacey, makes me feel like the album cover. I do want to be on the moon. That'd be sick as hell. Pick Up Full of Pink Carnations by The Vaccines. This album feels like I woke up in 2010. It's just another one of those albums that kind of feels like it exists. Just plenty of bands have done this sound, I think, a bit better. User-made EP right here. Just north of 8342 by Hanoje. Breakcore EP honestly really grabbed my ear. There's a lot of fun ear candy and it's detailed, very detailed. Yeah, good shit here. Glimmer of God by Gene Dawson. I liked this one. I remember hearing Chaos Now a while ago and not liking it as much, but I do like this one. I'm gonna throw it right here. Some insanely good songs on here, especially Darlin'. God, the chorus is so good. That's just such an earworm. He has a really great voice on this album. I don't know why it didn't work for me on Chaos Now. I might have to go back and listen to that. Bit hit or miss in the second half, but the highs are definitely weighing out the lows overall. Romance, Fontaines DC. Love these guys. Really have loved these guys. Loved their last record. Oh my god. What the fuck is it called? I should know this. Skintifia. Oh my god. Yeah, I was about to rip my hair out. Yeah, that record was so good, and Romance is an interesting and kind of honestly natural progression for them. They get into a more jangly sort of sound with this one, a little less dark than Skintifia. Definitely some Cure vibes here, maybe even more so than what they were doing before. Starburster is one of the best songs of the year, probably. That song goes crazy. He's just like rap singing, like he's just going off. I love the drum groove. Great switch up for the bridge. Favorite is very cute and catchy and nostalgic. It reminds me literally almost exactly of Just Like Heaven. I also like In the Modern World. That one's super grand and like, societal, right? Romance, solid stuff, good band. Always looking forward to what they're up to, and this one definitely paid off. I've had plenty of these songs on repeat.
I'm gonna hit your business if it's momentary business. In the modern world, I don't feel anything in the modern world.
In Lieu of Flowers by Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties. Kind of Midwest emo inspired folk record. It's pretty good. I think other bands in the style maybe have nailed it on the head a little bit more, but there's some really cool dynamics and horns, especially moments like the title track really pull that off well, I think. The Auditorium, Volume 1 by Common and Pete Rock. Hip-hop record, smooth beats, nice production and samples, consistent vibe, pretty impressive for it being a longer album. Does definitely make me feel like I'm in the city. Dreamin' is a really good track. That one stood out quite a bit to me, mainly because those drums and backing vocals across the tracks from Boldy James and Conductor Williams. This one's actually really fun. I love the snippets of kind of like, oh yeah, you're actually just on a train, like all the samples or whatever there. They're just really fun. The vocal production gave me a second to get used to. Undisputed's probably my favorite track, just very, very smooth. Memoirs in Armor by Navy Blue. So this album, I kind of have the same sort of opinion as his previous record. He has very solid beats, and I really like the lyrics. I've always liked his lyrics, very introspective and personal. Not the biggest fan of the vocal performance. I feel like it could be more engaging. But there are things to appreciate about this album for sure, so I'll put it right here. This Ain't the Way You Go Out by Lucy Rose. A very nice surprise from an artist I don't really know much about. It's kind of singer-songwriter based, but has some more jumpy and chaotic moments too, which I think definitely makes it stand out to its contemporaries. Light as Grass is a song I've definitely had on repeat quite a bit. I love the piano on that song. It's super cool. She has a great voice too. The Smile. Okay, let's do both the Smile albums. Where's the other one? We're going to go ahead and start with Wall of Eyes, which I easily think is the better of the two. The best work I think Tom York has done with The Smile since Radiohead. It does feel like a Radiohead album in a lot of ways. It's a little bit less angular than the first Smile album, which I'm totally down with because There are some really great atmospheres. I'm gonna get the elephant in the room out of the way because fucking Bending Hectic is the best song. I'm sorry, like, I think it is. I really think it's the best Smile song. 8-minute song with just some of the most beautiful vocals Tom York has sang since, again, Radiohead stuff. The guitar melody, the very, like, the bendy sort of string Johnny Greenwood somehow does. I have no clue how he does that. I need to look that up. Really satisfying. I love how it's a very, like, floaty sort of song. The violins, the orchestration, my fucking god. The drop at the end, holy shit. What a song. What a fucking song. It's definitely the big highlight of the album, but I also do really like some other moments here, especially Read the Room. That song has a very kind of mathy feel to it, and I love the switch up kind of halfway through. That riff is just killer. I really like the second half to Under Our Pillows, where it gets super atmospheric. Wall of Eyes is a very nice, like, kind of folky, laid-back opener. Again, Bending Hectic is the star of the show here, but it's a pretty awesome album regardless. But we move on to Cutouts, and it's definitely not up quite there with Wall of Eyes to me, but there are some very good moments. It does just feel like the amnesiac to Wall of Eyes, which I'm fine with. Like, there's some good ass songs, especially Zero Sum. That is my favorite song on this one. The freaking crazy ass guitar playing and the really tight drums with the horns that come in. It's a very fun track. Eyes and Mouth, Don't Get Me Started. Cool stuff too. This album is interesting because it's kind of very low key at some points and then very not at other points. And again, I think that's just part of it being kind of a B-side record, but yeah, it's still good. It's still considered one of their mainline albums, and I don't mind that at all because it's solid. She Reaches Out to She by Chelsea Wolfe. This is cool as shit, honestly. It's a bit of an industrial listen, gothic, and I really fuck with that, especially on the first two tracks. Very Nine Inch Nails reminiscent to me. Those are easily my two faves, but the whole album is solid. The Pilgrim, Their God, and the King of My Decrypt Mountain by Tapir. This is a stunning debut album from an up-and-coming band. I've had this one on repeat quite a bit. There's just so many beautiful moments. So instrumentally dense and lush. The vocals are unique too. Maybe took me a second to get used to, but I really love them. Seriously, there's like not a single dud on this album. I love how it's in 3 acts. It does feel like a kind of fictional world or story. This album cover honestly does it a lot of justice. Mountain Song is one of the best songs of the year. Like, honestly, I will say that with confidence. The fucking build at the end of that song is to die for. It is just so grand, and I love the backing vocals that are singing the drums sound huge on that song too. On a Grassy Knoll, beautiful song too. Loving the pitter-patter drums. My God is one of the catchier songs. Broken Arc is fantastic. I love that song. The Nether is great. Please do not miss out on this one. I love this record. I got it on vinyl too recently because I felt that it was a very good vinyl album. It's truly a band I'm going to be looking out for a lot on my radar.
Maybe it was Maybelline that put you at a loss. That's my God.
Alright, this is officially my 3rd session of doing this video, and we're like maybe halfway. Oh man. Conla's Well by Maruja. They are back on a hot streak. I mean, they never really were off a hot streak. This EP is just continuing that for sure. One of the best EPs of the year. I'm gonna throw it right here. I do think the 2 instrumentals on the album they're good. Like, they're good, they're solid. But stuff like in The Invisible Man, One Hand Behind the Devil, and what is it, Zeitgeist? Those songs are the ones that make it really stand out to me. I just love the vocals. It feels like such an integral part of the band for me. So I do think I prefer Nocnaria to this EP, but just barely. They are both very, very good, and Maruja is just keeping up their post-punk greatness. I have to mention the part in One Hand Behind the Devil where it's just like the stops, like the very abrupt, like in and out. It's so freaking cool.
Sometimes within the speakers, another person's mind.
Here we have Drop 7 by Little Sims. I am a massive Little Sims fan. She is probably one of my favorite hip-hop artists. This EP kind of just feels like a little experiment, and I think these ideas are just a bit underbaked. Again, I don't think it's meant to be taken too seriously. It just didn't do all too much for me. Melt the Honey by Pax. Indie rock, it's just very serviceable. It does get a tad bit boring to me. I do like Time Loop. I think that song, it just has a more emotional, acoustic, and dreamy vibe. The rest of the album, it's just totally, it's fine. As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again by the Decemberists. I love this band. I love this group, especially with the album Hazards of Love. That album is one of the best concept albums ever made, in my opinion. I love that fucking album. Their most recent output has been fine, just as of the last, few years. But I will say this new album is pretty good. I think it's the best they've done since Hazards of Love. My favorite side of the Decemberists is when they experiment and they go out of their box a little bit, because they get some really, really good ideas sometimes whenever they do that. This album definitely has some of that, and that's why I really like some moments on here. Mainly the big, huge, insane moment being Joan in the Garden. Easily their best song since Hazards of Love stuff. It feels like a Pink Floyd song with how expansive it is. Like, you have a very dramatic, climactic intro, then it gets into this, really spacey, ambient, and soundscape-filled middle half, and then it ends with, this really hard-hitting rock opera sort of thing at the end. It's awesome. It's a great, great song. I highly recommend that song specifically. But some other highlights are America Made Me and The Black Maria. Some moments do still feel a little bit cookie-cutter, but I think overall this one definitely was a step forward in the direction that I personally love the most from the Decemberists. So
We are floating in the firmament. Catch us as we fly.
Letter to You by Bullis Pupil. Kind of like an electronic synth pop album, very all over the place sonically. I kind of have to readjust myself every now and then with just how crazy it is, or can be. There Must Be Something Here by A Cloudy Sky. I enjoyed this one. Just kind of stumbled upon it. Again, just you give me some good indie vibes, I'll like it. It does honestly just have a nice blend of folk and electronic elements too, which is really cool. Really pretty production. Relay has a great drop at the end of it. Ends is a song I've had on repeat a good bit. It's very catchy and very emotional.
Someone there who's watching, just a blur in my vision.
Here we have the self-titled record from Fabiana Palladino. I hope I said that right. This is like an 80s sort of synth pop inspired listen. Pretty awesome. It's pretty good. I really like her voice and the production. The harmonies on this album are insane. I think that definitely elevates it a bit. Nothing extremely stand out to me, but I definitely enjoyed it. Madra by New Dad. Indie rock, dream poppy, maybe a touch of shoegaze going on this one. Simplistic, but very hard-hitting. And I get, maybe someone could say it's a little monotone, but I think the vocals are smooth and pretty, and the production and songwriting is interesting enough. I really like the song Angel. One of the best drops I've heard this year, honestly. It's a really good song. This Could Be Texas by English Teacher. I heard a lot of praise get thrown on this album throughout the year, and I'm honestly glad it did. Definitely some post-punk indie rock energy going throughout this one. I really love the vocal chops here. Albert Road has a great vocal performance. The World's Biggest Paving Slab has been one that's been throughout my rotation. R&B is really great too. Here we have Hotel La Rut by Joanna Wang. The best way I can describe this album is if Mitski tried to make a Ween album. Which is, it's something that I kind of have to ease myself into. Honestly, this might be a grower, but as of right now, it's good. Like, I enjoyed it. It's just very hard to swallow for me. Regardless, it's a super fun album. It's a lot of songs, too. 23 songs, yeah. Yeah, it's very creative. I really like Backstage. Pigeons on Your Balcony is really emotional and grand. And then you have a song like She Had a Habit of Meeting All the Artists Backstage. So just like bouncy and silly and all over the place. Dark Matter by Pearl Jam. Even flow. Do I like it as much as their old stuff? No. It's a pretty decent record. It's not bad by any means. It's just Pearl Jam being modern Pearl Jam. Interplay by Ride, a classic shoegaze band that is back with a new record. It's pretty decent. It does have a very nice dreamy sound, solid vibes, also some 80s vibes out of nowhere. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty decent, and I mean, cool to see they're doing stuff. I do really like some of their older records. And now I'm just Gnashing My Teeth by the Barbarians of California. This was recommended to me by a good friend of mine, and I honestly really ended up enjoying it. Apparently it's one of the members of AWOL Nation, I'm pretty sure. That is crazy to think about. Yeah, I mean, these songs just go hard. Alt metal with some thrashy vibes, some heavy ass riffs. I love the vocal performances, how gritty he can get, especially on a song like Dopamine Prophecy. That's my favorite. I really like Bazooka, the Library. I think this dude would like put me in a dumpster or something if I met him in real life. So if that sells you the vibe of this album, then there you go. Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. This was a pretty big one. Honestly, it doesn't feel like this album came out this year. Yeah, it's honestly great. Like, she did some good shit with this album. One of her most consistent albums to me. Love the groove to a song like Lunch. Love the dramatic build to a song like Chihiro. The Greatest has an amazing vocal performance. Blue is a very emotional and sweet closer. Yeah, I've never been a Billie Eilish hater, honestly. I don't love her first album that much, but I think she does have a lot of talent. It's a pretty low-key album, honestly. Maybe more low-key than something like Happier Than Ever, yeah. But yeah, I think it's just a concise listen. Probably my favorite album from her so far. This was one of the first releases I listened to this year. Hot Air Balloon EP by Pile. I love this band. I gushed about them last year and I'll gush about them again. They're just some of the most unique, hard-hitting, emotional indie rock with like some hardcore, post-hardcore flair in there. It's great. This EP, it's kind of a B-sides EP to their last album, but honestly, I like this so much more than All Fiction, even though All Fiction is good. The Birds Attacked My Hot Air Balloon is one of my favorite Pile songs. The lyrics to that song are really clever, really well written. There's one lyric on that song that's like, I could see your house from here if I bothered to look. Bitter resentment, it's so well shown. I also really like You Get to Decide. It has a great ending, super intense. I love this dude's voice too. I know it's not for everyone, but I think it's just super unique and it hits really hard with the sound and makes them stand out. But yeah, they're a great band. I would honestly put this probably like up here.
Breath has been hanging insecurely from a hook.
Everchance by Cluster. Digital electronic listen. It sounds like the album cover. Like, that's the best way I can put it for sure. I think the vocals maybe bring this album down a little bit for me. I just feel like they could have been a little bit more on the dot with hitting those notes, but sometimes it adds to the charm, especially on a song like Us Pretenders, which is a song I really like. It's definitely been a song on a repeat. It's a really unique sound, and it's really cool, and I could see this sound being perfected and kind of mastered a little bit more. Mountainhead by Everything Everything, a band I've honestly like truly yet to super click with. I've never disliked their sound. It's just never been like my favorite ever. This one isn't something I don't think I would overall return to as much. I mean, it's a very well-made album. It just didn't really stand out to me as much. Hopefully one day I get the hype with this band, because I want to. I really do. The Collective by Kim Gordon. This is one of the members of Sonic Youth. What the fuck is this album? It's like very industrial and like trap inspired? I don't know. It's so strange. It's so weird. There are moments here that I really do respect, like the opening track, Bye Bye. Like, that song is badass, it's intense. I love the disoriented synth melodies. Yeah, the rest of the album, it's just such a mindfuck. Would I return to it as a whole? No, probably not, but I respect the hustle for something maybe a little bit different. Cool World by Chat Pile. Up there with some of my favorites of the year for sure. Chat Pile is just a great band. I've really gotten into them over the last like 6 months or so. Their sludgy, grimy, disgusting, unhinged sound really does it for me. And initially it didn't. It took me a second to get used to, but now that I am used to it, I just want more and more. God's Country is maybe a little bit more raw and unhinged. This album feels a little bit more focused. It's kind of a give and take because I really like some of the elements of God's Country maybe a little more, but I do like the consistency of this album more than that album as a whole. I don't know, it's strange. I remember the song that got me into Chat Pile in general was I Am Dog Now, the first single for this album. The riffs are heavy, the vocals are nasty. It's a very animalistic, barbaric song that just goes so hard, and it's still one of my favorites on the album. I also love Mask, which was the second single. That ending of that song is one of the tightest fucking grooves and breakdowns I've heard in a while. And I mean, yeah, God, it's just so decrepit. The vocals are just like he's gnawing at himself. I don't know. It's so disgusting and I love it. Aim is one of the catchier ones. I like that one a lot. Frownland is great. The New World is insane. Milk of Human Kindness is honestly another one of my like favorites, probably top 3 of the album. Genuinely such a solid album as a whole. Chat Pile pulled the fuck through this year. X's by Cigarettes After Sex. They need to change up their sound or do something just a little more interesting, I feel. Because, I don't know, from what I've heard from them, I like some of their stuff. I like their first album. But, yeah, this one just feels so rinse and repeat, and it just gets so one note after a while. It's not a bad listen, like, I wouldn't call it a bad album or anything. It's just, 1, they've done better, and 2, there are more interesting bands out there doing this sort of thing. Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa, an album that was produced by Kevin Parker. I know that, and that's the best part of it to me. I'm not the biggest Dua Lipa person ever. I mean, it's a well-executed album, it's just feels a little cookie cutter. Cartoon Darkness by Amyl and the Sniffers. It's fun. Amyl and the Sniffers, they're making some punk bangers. I think I like some other punk records better from this year, but no, they have a solid sound. They totally do. The one song I really like, and the one song that I feel is like a little bit more unique, is Bailing on Me. A lot less aggressive and a lot more melodical for them, and that to me just is a little different for them, and that's why I think I like it a little bit more. Impossible Light by Uboa, an album that feels like you're in a torture chamber. Jeez, this thing is crazy. Some of the most insane production, wild songwriting. It just keeps you on edge the whole time. It honestly is comparable to Girl with Basket of Fruit by Shoo Shoo. I really liked it though, for the most part. It's just so impressive as I listen. It's so crushing. The electronics are insane. There's just so many like frantic screams too. It's insane. It really is insane. Have I returned to it that much? Maybe not, because I want to get sleep at night, but it's definitely an experience. How to Make a Masterpiece by Masterpiece. That's quite the album name. Unfortunately, I did not find this to be much of a masterpiece. I'm sorry. Look, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I just don't vibe with the vocals all that much. And the vocals, as you've probably getting a gist of now, are kind of like, you know, the selling point for me a lot of the time. Harm's Way by Ducks Ltd. Indie pop album with some charm, but does just feel a bit cookie cutter. Not a bad listen. Flower of the Soul by Liana Flores. Really pretty. album. Love the nylon string classical guitars on this album. They make the sound here just beautiful. The production is beautiful. Very sweet vocal delivery. It feels like you're in the middle of the woods during fall and you're just having a really nice stroll. I think this one could continue to be a grower. It's kind of a side of folk that I'm not entirely locked into as much, but I definitely really appreciate this one. Six Desperate Ballads by The Garden, another EP. This is a lot of fun, as always. They're always just such a fun band to listen to. The songs here are catchy, weird enough for me to really click with it. It does kind of feel like a successor to Horseshit on Route 66, but still holds it to its own for sure. I especially love the song Ballet. That song feels like it could be in a rave. Definitely one of the more unique and short but very punchy songs. Overall, yeah, I mean, they don't miss that often, honestly.
You can't roll with the punches, I'm in the way. I never glance back to yesterday.
This is How Tomorrow Moves by Beabadoobee? Beabadoobee. Yeah, solid indie rock. More indie rock that I just jive with. Well performed, solid production. Not the most unique thing ever, but again, it's just well made. Some really good hooks on songs like Take a Bite and California. And I also do like the fuzzy guitars on this album. No Depression in Heaven by Midwife. I really like Midwife, especially some of the earlier Midwife stuff. You're chillin', it's shoegazy, it's dreamy. This one is one of the gloomiest albums I think she's made. It doesn't feel quite as standout in some areas, but I mean, you put this on and close your eyes, you're going to have a good time. Like, it's going to put you to sleep. It's going to be relaxing. There's some nice progressions here. It's just a little bit one note occasionally. Amama by Crumb. This album is one of their most out there. And when I say that, I'm not even saying like they did something huge and different and ginormous, but there's enough noticeable differences here with the songwriting, with some maybe weirder progressions, some weirder structures that really, honestly, like, it makes it a very, very solid listen. You give me some good indie and I will be here for it. The bass lines are stellar as always with Crumb. Love the smooth, kind of light vocals she has. Just a very solid group, very solid vibe. I really like it. Tanguk by Idols. This isn't like my favorite work from them. I think Brawler I enjoyed some more, and I obviously like Joys and Active Resistance and Brutalism. Like, those albums are incredible. If I had to choose a least favorite from them, this probably would be it, but it's still not a bad album at all. Usually I'm just a lot more like excited with Idols, but this one is just a little bit more subdued. Again, it's kind of hit or miss. Some songs just feel a little bit more interesting than others. There are some moments I really like here though, like Gift Horse. That kind of feels like a classic Idol song, but it just bangs. It's great. It's really catchy. Grace is a good example of a slower track that I do actually really enjoy. Was never the biggest fan of Dancer, surprisingly, which is so weird because that has fucking LCD sound system on it. Probably the biggest mixed bag from Idols for me so far, but it's still a good album regardless. Sorks 80, I love the freaking album cover to this thing. It's such a goofy little alien guy. I love him. I've been very middle in the road with OCs, and this kind of continues that streak. Not the biggest fan of the vocals again. I don't know why. Like, it's so weird because I normally love the screamy, weird ass, like, crazy vocals, but here it just feels so abrasive to me. I feel like it does get a little bit samey, but I do like the song Earthling. I think that one stands out a little bit. The production and tight guitars and playing, it's still nice. Fuzzy guitars for sure. Vita Blue by Mama Leak. This was recommended to me by a friend. It's one of my really good friends too that I really vibe with on a lot of musical opinions. This one isn't entirely for me. Just didn't really do too much for me, and it sucks because I wish it did. I really wanted it to. And I think it mainly is just because the vocals are a very acquired taste. There's a lot of ambition. There's a lot of cool instrumentals. They're pretty insane and impressive, and I do appreciate that. Like, the foundations here are something I really would normally enjoy, but it's a little almost too out of pocket for me, which is something I don't say that often. Songs of a Lost World by The Cure. It's cool to see The Cure back on their shit. They really haven't skipped a beat since some of their earlier material. Feels like you just put on the soundtrack to the world ending. Like, that's what this album feels like. And I honestly really like that about it. It makes it very unique and very hard-hitting emotionally. It feels like it's their last album. I don't know if it is, but it feels like it could be. Every now and then, it can get a little one note for me, but the song ideas are really good when they want to be, especially on A Fragile Thing and Nothing Is Forever, which are my two faves. I think the atmospheres do sell it most of the time, for sure. Alrighty. We have arrived. Night Palace by Mount Eerie is my album of the year. For those who know me and know my taste, this should be no surprise at all. For those who don't, yeah, Mount Eerie, Phil Elverum, the Microphones, he is my favorite songwriter of all time. If this wasn't my album of the year, I probably am either dead or can't speak or something. I don't know. I'm either dead or deaf. Yeah, it's that good. It's that fucking good. It's a 10 out of 10 album for me. I did a hour and a half video going into kind of my first reaction and experience with it. But let me dive into a little bit of why I love this one so much. It feels like a spiritual successor to The Glow Part 2 in a lot of ways. And The Glow Part 2 is my favorite album ever made. Not only that, but it's very close to being on that same sort of just magical level that The Glow is on. It's very experimental, it's very all over the place, but at the same time, I think it does it in a way that feels super appropriate. It's an 80-minute album, there's like 26 songs. There are like blocks of this album, and each block kind of has a thematic focus. It makes the more all-over-the-place sound make more sense. The Glow Part 2 is an album that is all over the place, but there's a reason for that. When it's done right, that's when I love it. And I think this album is an example of that. There are some revelations that are made on this album. This feels like some of the questions that were being posed from earlier on in Phil's career were either answered or expanded upon. He even gets political on this album. He uses a trap beat on this album. He has a grindcore song on this album, and you hear all of that and you're like, why, what? And I was like, yeah, that's crazy too. But again, it all makes sense. The song where he uses the trap beat is a song called I Spoke With a Fish, and the trap beat is used, and he uses autotune too, for when the fish is speaking, like in the song. One of my favorite lines of the entire album is on that song as well. Recorded music is a statue of a waterfall. Beautiful stuff there. That's one of my favorite songs on the album, honestly. It's grown on me a lot. It's beautiful, a little bit silly too, but the sentiment is really, really strong and great.
What you see as a palace is running water.
Existentialism is a very, very big topic with Mount Eerie and Phil and the Microphones. It always has been, and that's something I heavily connect with because my entire life I've been a very existential person. It helps me cope with existentialism in a lot of ways. And that might be a very strong reason why I connect with his music so much. But this album has a very, very large share of that. Again, especially in the first half. The first maybe like 7 songs, especially when you get to a song like I Walk, which is possibly the best song on the album, or at least one of them. It's hard to fucking choose. One of the most beautiful songs lyrically I've heard in a while. The whole sound of the song is just breathtaking as well. It feels like a journey. You start out slow, it feels very twinkly, and then it just really picks up and you get these heavy, super distorted guitars that just punch you in the face, only adding to just the beauty and the sentiment of the song, which I believe to be about accepting your place in the world, and to some degree understanding that we're all here on, a rock. We're all gonna die, but might as well enjoy what we can. I feel like that's what it speaks to me, at least a little bit. It feels like a song where he's spilling his emotions as he's existing as a human, but like in a very nature-filled, existential way, and I love that. My favorite line in the song that literally gives me chills and brings me to tears sometimes is, until I too dissipate, I will be blinking at dawn.
Till I too dissipate.
God, this is such a dense album. It's so hard to talk about everything in such a short period of time. I Saw Another Bird. It's a great, I love that one too, lyrically. He's like talking to this bird that he sees, and he's like, do I have any impact towards you? Or does this bird have any impact towards me? What does it represent? Oh my God, the title track too? Oh, that song is so good. That's one of my favorites for sure. It's super droney and it has basically no percussion, maybe a little bit. It's just such a compelling intro to the album. It is like immediately zaps you into a whole nother world, which Phil always finds a way to do one way or another. I love the opening line to the song too. It's I saw lightning last night but heard nothing. Kind of questioning the reality we live in. I love the line, I'm in love with the last of the light, however long I have left in life. And so what if no one ever refines this notebook? Chills reading that. Oh my God.
I saw lightning last night, but heard nothing.
I love Huge Fire. That's another really, really good one. That bass line is fucking awesome. Such an entrancing, captivating atmosphere.
I walk and there's a fire, but it's at my back.
I love Wind and Fog Part 2, where his vocals get super deep. Apparently he was sick when he recorded that song. And, I haven't even mentioned this song yet. Non-Metaphorical Decolonization. That is probably my favorite song on the album. I don't know how the fuck I didn't mention it sooner. It's his political song. It's basically his retaliation of the state of the world right now. I mean, let me read some of these lyrics. We live in the wreckage of a colonizing force whose racist poison still flows, so scared of a moment of discomfort now. It's fucking, I mean, he's spitting facts. This America, the old idea, I want it to die. What a fucking line. Let this old world shatter.
Let this old world shatter.
I mean, I think what he's talking about is just so important, appropriate for an album like this, because this album bounces around a lot of themes, but is very holistic. It talks about kind of all areas of life, all areas of the world, and just the human experience, and not even just the human experience, but other living things. I don't know, it's just so much to digest. I'm still trying to digest it all. God, I Need New Eyes. The Gleam Part 3, dude. The Gleam Part 3, that song shocked me so much, seeing that on the track list, because it's from The Glow Part 2, which is, again, my favorite album ever made. He made a sequel to a song on that album. Like, what the fuck? That's so awesome. There's some reoccurring lyrics in that song, too, which is just so cool. It makes me nerd out. Demolition is absolutely huge and grand and just breathtaking. Yeah, I mean, Phil Elverum is my favorite songwriter of all time. He is my favorite lyricist. His sounds, his emotion, everything he does as a musician, as a songwriter, as a human being, hits me in the heart. It hits me in the feels. It just fully connects with me. And that's why this is my album of the year. And I think this is one of his best examples of that, of being just as open and as human as possible, questioning things, trying to understand everything. It's all so impactful. We're all just here. We have a certain amount of time on the world. Makes me think of that shit. I mean, it's hard to even talk about an album like this for me. It's hard to put feelings into words. It's hard to explain how much Phil Elverum's music truly does mean to me. I really could keep going and going and going on forever, but I think I'll leave it there. This is my album of the year, Night Palace. Go listen to it. Go do yourself a favor. Go fucking indulge yourself. Yeah, I can't thank him enough for his music. It's truly changed my life. I'll even say this. I have tattoos from Phil Elverum's work. I have a Now Only tattoo, and I have a Glow Part 2 tattoo. So with all that being said, I'll move on, but huge love to this album and to Phil Elverum. Bumping that. Brat, Charlie XCX. I mean, what is there to say about this one? It's like, it made such a huge wave in the music industry this year. I haven't seen an album do what it did to the music industry like Brat did in a while. So you gotta give it that. My personal feelings on it, I think there are some absolute bangers. I think 365 is amazing. I love that song. I like Club Classics too. Some of it isn't entirely for me. I think the autotune can get a little too heavy for my liking every now and then. But, you know, that's just me and my taste. It's still a banger freaking album. I mean, it started a revolution this year, I feel. So, would I call myself a brat? I think I'm a brat. Y'all. I'm a 365 party girl. Y:Y, or however you pronounce it, by Amaro Freitas. Nice, kind of strange, experimental jazz influenced record, sort of. Pretty cool stuff going on here. Very strange song structures. Really like the song Encantados. I do think sometimes it can get a little bit directionless, but it's overall an interesting listen for sure. If you like kind of weirder jazz stuff, maybe give it a shot. I'm Doing It Again, Baby by Girl in Red. I actually liked Girl in Red's earlier stuff. I think it had a lot of charm, and I think it was very sweet, but not really feeling this one, honestly. I feel like her sound has just gotten way, way more like commercial and overblown and cheesy, at least a little bit on this one. Some songs feel like they're produced like an Imagine Dragons song. And again, commercial isn't even a bad thing sometimes, but I just feel like with this record, it really stood out in a kind of a wonky way. What Now by Brittany Howard, a stunning kind of psychedelic influenced soul record. I really, really love her voice. She has so much power in her delivery. Every single song, I was just looking forward to what ideas were going to be brought to the table, and it really did not disappoint. Earth Sign is amazing. What Now is amazing. Title track. Power to Undo is amazing. Drum grooves are insane on this one when they want to be. Absolutely love the riffs on the title track. Yeah, I mean, it's just all around so enjoyable, so full of life, so fun, so impressive. Really, really well-made record. Sable by Bon Iver, back with a new EP. Not my favorite material from him, but it's still Bon Iver, so it's gonna be good to some degree. Like, it's good. It's totally good. I really enjoy Speyside. I think that's a great track. I like the stripped back nature to it. He kind of goes back to the folkier sound on this one, and I like that side of him the most. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of quick, short, to the point. Nothing too absolutely insane, but definitely a solid release.
I know now that I can't make good how I wish I could.
My Anti-Aircraft Friend by Julie. I was looking forward to this one. I really like Julie. I really like that one EP they released. This new one, it's pretty good. I think I like that EP more. I think their shoegazier kind of grungy sound was maybe a little bit more stand out on that one, but this one is just solid. It does kind of fall into the wave of bands doing this sort of sound, but I mean, they do it well. I really like Catalog. That was kind of the song that drew me in. Has a lot of energy, some bitter anger to it. I like Knob for being a little bit more of a dynamic track. Live, Laugh, Love by Chastity Belt. It's pretty decent. I think it's just solid indie rock, nice on the ears, solid vibe. But yeah, nothing too insane. I think I'd put it right here. Self-Titled by Neck Deep. As I said earlier, the new pop punk wave, very, very hit or miss for me. This is unfortunately a miss for me. Maybe a bit of a hot take. Not the biggest fan of the vocals. Very overblown production to me. It reminds me of the new Blink-182 album, and if you've heard that, maybe you know what I mean by overblown. It just, I don't know. It's very samey to me. I get the appeal, just not for me. For Your Consideration by Empress of. Solid pop. It's decent. She's a great, great voice. The songwriting didn't hit quite as hard as the performances did, but solid. All Born Screaming by St. Vincent. I really love this one. I genuinely think St. Vincent has one of the most consistently solid discographies out of many different artists. I mean, I think she has like 9 or 10 albums, and they're all at least good. Like, this one especially, though, this honestly might be my favorite project from her. I love how just badass this album is. It's darker, it's a little bit heavier with some of these songs, it's really intense. You have some groove to these tracks, great vocal performances, sort of off-kilter songwriting, especially on a song like Hell Is Near, that really grabs me. It's just so cool to see her jump into this darker style. I remember I heard the lead single, Broken Man, and absolutely loved that. And I mean, I heard that, I'm like, oh, is she gonna make a freaking, like, metal album or something? But that's not what ended up happening. But I was absolutely not disappointed with the product at all. I also love Big Time Nothing. That groove is amazing. Love the little synth melody there too. It's just so fun. I love her kind of singing vocals. It's great. It's a very menacing record as a whole, even with its more beautiful moments. I also really love Reckless. That is such an intense, beautiful song. Violent Times is really good. The horns on that one, freaking crazy. Great project. Seriously. This album just kicks so much ass. Can We Please Have Fun by Kings of Leon. I do like some of their earlier stuff, especially the album Come Around Sundown. This new one, it's fine. Like, it's another one of those where it's just, yeah, it's cool. It's chill, I guess. Fine on the ears. I think the vocals could be better in some areas, but it's a Kings of Leon record as pretty much standard as you can get with them. Real quick, while it's on my mind, I didn't add this album to the list this year, but I wanted to shout out Texas Math by A Deer, A Horse. They're a band that I actually had the privilege of playing with recently, and they just kick ass. Texas Math, it's really solid record. I'd probably put it in like the 8 out of 10 range. Check out the title track, check out Threat. Those are both some of my faves. A little bit of Swans influence, especially on the vocals, and also just like noise rock, just really like aggressive riffs. It's just fucking awesome. It's kick-ass, great band. They deserve some more recognition, so I wanted to give them a shout out. You Only Die Once by Freddie Gibbs. Very smooth, very solid, witty, fun hip-hop record. I'm going to throw it right here. Not my favorite hip-hop record of the year or anything, but I do appreciate it, and I just think it's a lot of fun. Where We've Been, Where We Go From Here by Frico. This is a indie rock lovers album, which is me, so I like it a lot. Yeah, it's great. Like, if you like 2000s indie rock, listen to this. There are moments that remind me of Arcade Fire, and there's just a lot of very cathartic, very nostalgic sort of songs and sounds on this album that I just fuck with. It still feels really well written outside of that too. Where We've Been is one of my favorite songs of the year. It's so emotional, so passionate. Definitely a song that has given me chills plenty of times. An incredible drop at the end, and I just love the chord progression. Amazing song. Chemical is another huge favorite. Love how the energy to that song. There's a ton of energy. It just kicks you in the face with that riff. Get Numb to It is great. Cardinal is a very sweet closer. Crimson to Chrome, solid stuff. Yeah, it's definitely an enjoyable one. Pandora by Wisp. I know this is a band that got kind of popular on social media. It's shoegazy. It's just kind of your solid, like, shoegaze, dreamy sort of stuff. And it's solid. It's good. There are some consistently good sounds on this one. And I really like the drop to Pandora. A Dream is All We Know by the Lemon Twigs. Alright guys, I hate fun. Don't get me wrong. This is a very well-made album. It just kind of feels like the Beatles 2.0. And I know, like, for a lot of people, that's a good thing. But for me, I mean, I'm just a little bit tired of this sound, personally. The classic rock throwback sort of thing. And in this case, and I totally get why people like this group a good bit. I actually do really like the song My Golden Years. I think that's one of the more unique songs on the album. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little bit tired of the throwback sound. I'm kind of tired of songs that go la 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 and the way that Sweet Vibration does. Penalty of Leadership by Boldy James and Nicholas Craven. Another hip-hop album with some really good samples and great bars, but I'm just not the biggest fan of the delivery, and I can tell there was a lot of passion put into the project. Yeah, I do like Jack Frost and All My Tokens. Honey by Caribou. Believe it or not, this is my favorite thing I've heard from Caribou. I remember I tried listening to this at one point and just for whatever reason couldn't finish it. And the first song on the album, Broke My Heart, was just stuck in my head, that little like kind of repeating motif. So it kind of brought me back to the album and made me think about it. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like this sound. It's so weird I mess with this house sort of influence sound like this, but not Jamie XCX as much. I don't know why. My brain and my ears are weird. The Sunset Violet by Mount Kimby. I like this one. Kind of DIY, maybe a little bit lo-fi. Has some post-punk vibes too. But I like the sound, the very specific feeling this album brings. There's King Cruel on a few of these songs, which is really freaking cool. Every song has memorable guitar lines. Both of the songs that King Cruel are featured on are really great. Empty and Silent might be my favorite. It's just a great closer, very moody. I just really like when a record captures a specific vibe, and this one did it for me. Yeah, if you like King Cruel at all, definitely check this out.
Square is empty, the square is empty inside it.
Title Memory EXO by Igloo Ghost. I actually, you know what? I meant to give this one a re-listen. I totally forgot to. Past me would put it right here. Future me, maybe on re-listen, would put it up here. I really have been enjoying the song Coral Mimic. That one has come up on my rotation a good bit, and it just fucking, it hits. I don't even know many albums that sound like this. I haven't listened to a lot of kind of industrial, like club albums like this, but it's freaking great. What's going on, especially on the production end. The album cover is perfect for kind of bringing in that sound. It feels like very drenched. Clancy, 21 Pilots. Bit of a divisive album, I feel like. I liked it. This was basically promised to be Trench Part 2. Trench is my favorite 21 Pilots album, like, no questions asked for me. But this is, yeah, it's good. I mean, I think Trench is more consistent. I think there are some kind of corny ideas every now and then here. But Overcompensate has a great beat switch. Love how intense it is. Next Semester is a lot of fun. Midwest Indigo is catchy. Backslide I found to be pretty good too. It's a pretty fun listen. Yeah, I mean, as someone who's very, very mixed on 21 Pilots, I did enjoy it. Why Loud by No Worries or NX Worries. Anderson .Paak is a part of this, which immediately grabbed my attention because I really like Anderson .Paak. Some of the shorter moments don't leave as much of an impact on me, but I really like Daydreaming. I think the vocals on that one are incredible. And I actually really liked the Snoop Dogg feature on From Here, which is cool. Snoop Dogg's a fun guy when he pops up. You'll Have to Lose Something by Spirit of the Beehive. I've become a pretty big Spirit of the Beehive fan, mainly because of the album Entertainment Death. That album is so good. This is kind of the follow-up to that album, and I don't like it as much, but I still like it. They have a very experimental, scattered, psychedelic, weird-ass sound, and for me, it's hit or miss sometimes. Mainly, I heard that the most with this record, but there are still really cool moments. My two faves are I've Been Evil and 1 out of 500. It's a good one. I think Entertainment Death is just more engaging and more off the cuff in a memorable way. But Spirit of the Beehive is sticking true to themselves and being weird, and that's still fucking awesome. Neon Pill by Cage the Elephant. Perfectly fine album. Over the years, I feel like they've gotten a little bit less interesting. I do like the song Good Time, though. I think that song is easily the most unique. As Above, So Below by Highly Suspect. To those who don't know, I am a very big fan of this band, actually. They were one of the bands that really got me into music, kind of with their first couple of records. Their newer stuff, third and fourth album, Nah, not really for me. But with this new album, they are back to a sound that I really like. The singles got me hyped. I was like, whoa, they're back to their rock-centric sort of sound, and it doesn't sound crazy. They promised this album would be something a little bit more ambitious, and I think they were right. There's still some Back to Basics tracks, for sure, on here, but you have lengthier songs here, like Melatonia and then Mickey 2, as well as Summertime Voodoo, which was the lead single. I think some moments vocally are still a little bit wonky every now and then, but again, there are some great freaking highlights. I love Melatonia. That is I think the best song they've made since their earlier material. It is super emotional. It feels like a spiritual successor to Serotonia, which I think is one of their best songs. No title as of 13th February 2024, 28,340 dead by Godspeed You Black Emperor. I did a whole video on this album. It's really good. Godspeed has not lost their streak of just beautiful, really well-made, impactful instrumental music. It's just so grand, expansive. And this album definitely has an added layer of emotion, just knowing kind of where it's coming from. I mean, there's genuine tragedy coming from these tracks, and it shows. It's really hard to replicate what they do with their sound. So, yeah, huge shout out to them, and yeah, great stuff. Great album. Vanishing Act 2 Ultimate Reality by Clarence Clarity. Heard a bit about this artist, need to check out some of the classic stuff, but it's wacky. This is wacky, but it's very fun. With it being all over the place, I do like some moments more than others, but it's very glitchy. Great production. There's a lot of albums this year with just really good production. I like how this album just kind of throws in really heavy guitars out of nowhere, kind of giving it almost a hyperpop flair, like something 100 Gex would do. I Lay Down My Life For You by JPEG Mafia. Probably my hip-hop album of the year, honestly. I haven't heard, like, the most ever from Peggy. I've heard Scaring the Hoes. It's fucking awesome. This thing is crazy. I really do need to go back and listen to, like, LP and Veteran and stuff like that. You got guitars on this album. You got fucking string sections on this album. It's crazy. It's really interesting. One of my favorites is I scream this in the mirror before I interact with anyone. Just a kick-ass opener. Those guitars work super well for his sound, and he's just going off. I mean, it kind of continues to Sin Miedo. That one's also great. Ex-Military is fucking crazy. It's just a really cool, evolving kind of song, and it's honestly kind of smooth, too. Lupin Leave It. I mean, yeah, that's my favorite example of the violins coming out of nowhere. Really awesome. Love the Denzel verse on JPEG Ultra. Unhinged, absolutely insane. Solid stuff.
Who that running they trap? Why you ain't built like that? Y'all in trouble where I ain't built like that. It's just a weapons of war.
All Hell by Los Campesinos. This is just some really good indie rock, really cathartic, has some kind of emo influence to it. I mean, it's just a really enjoyable album, bangers front to back. There is a more emotional tone, especially with a song like Feast of Tongues. The chorus is great. Oh my god, that chorus is an earworm for sure. I just love the building sort of nature to that song too. Honestly, a favorite song of the year, probably. Holy Smoke is super duper fun and very catchy as well. Adult Acme, Stigmata, and Psychic Wound, other bangers. I will be checking out more of this band. What a Fucking Nightmare by The Chisel. Hot take with this one, I think it's kind of bland, personally. I'm sorry. It's very oi. It's got the oi up in there. Also, apparently oi is a genre, and this album is in the oi genre, so that's a fun fact. The classic style of balls to the wall punk It's fun. It just gets way too samey for me. Like these songs are almost indistinguishable to me. New Last Name by Courting. It's so close to being an album I really want to like. I saw them live this year with Wunderbar actually, and they were the reason I went to that show. And I like Wunderbar, but they fucking killed it at that show. This one is a bit different from what they were doing. They started out kind of post-punky, and then they went into like weird indie rock sort of territory. And that's kind of where this album is. Indie-tronica bits here too, and there's some auto-tune on the vocals, which are kind of hit or miss for me. I mean, that was also on their last record, but I don't know. I think this one is it's just a little bit clunky. But that being said, there are some great songs. The two songs that I highly recommend are Flex and Emily G. Fantastic songs, both of those. Those are earworms if I have ever heard one. Here in the Pitch by Jessica Pratt. Not quite seeing the hype with this one as much as some other people are. It felt like maybe a little bit hollow to me. Like, I know folk records can be hollow, but I feel like this one was hollow in a way that just didn't feel very appropriate. Some nice textures. Her voice is great. Just wasn't totally sold on this one. Big Sigh by Marika Hackman. Very good indie rock. Again, if you can't tell already, I really like indie rock. Definitely some songs I've been returning to. Slime is one of those. Great freaking hook. And it's weird because this album is kind of strange. It promised something maybe a little bit more theatrical with the first song, but after that, it's just more about just solid tunes. But I honestly like that side of it more. Prelude to Ecstasy by The Last Dinner Party. Another group that got shown in the spotlight quite a bit, I feel. It's great. Good stuff. Beautiful vocals, dynamic instrumentation, kind of a crazy opener as well for an indie rock album, but good for them. They kind of popped off this year, and I totally see why. It's just very nice sounds and songs, especially on Your Side. That's probably my favorite one. Definitely some balladry going on with that one.
I wish I didn't want to. Wish I could do without this blood.
Gloom Division by I Don't Know How But They Found Me. Pretty sure this is one of the dudes from Panic at the Disco. An album with good production for the poppier sound, but songwriting wise, it's just kinda there. Death of a Rabbit by Your Arms Are My Cocoon. This was a very divisive album, I feel. Or at least, like, a lot of the people I talked to about it, they either fucking love it or hate it because they don't like the vocals. I love this album. Look, I get it. It's not for everyone. It's very screamo inspired, very emo. It's very raw and rough around the edges, but all of those things are kind of what I love about it, not gonna lie. I mean, I think some of the best songs of the year land on this album, especially Death of a Rabbit, the title track, and Runner Duck. I love the banjo in the beginning there and like the really like shitty vocals. I don't know. I just think it's all a lot of fun. It's really charming, and at the same time, it's all very emotional and kind of expansive on some songs too, especially Runner Duck. And also Let's Get Married, which is just a fantastic, hard-hitting. The vocals are unique. The instrumentation is very like Scrams-esque, a little bit shoegazy too every now and then, I feel. Has a sort of bedroom vibe to it too. Yeah. I think it's great. I really do. Wild God by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Not extremely familiar with Nick Cave, honestly. Like, I've heard the name for the longest time. He's definitely been on my to-do list to get around to. And this new album, it's kind of a hit or miss thing with me, and I know that's kind of a hot take. There are things about it that I really do appreciate. I think the instrumentation is insane. Vocally, yeah, just not entirely my cup of tea, and I think some moments are maybe a little bit dull and drawn out, but there are some amazing moments, especially Conversion. I think that song is phenomenal. I love the violins on Song of the Lake. Hopefully it's just a album and an artist that grows on me with time. Ask me 3 years from now and I might throw this up here. We'll see. Samurai by Lupe Fiasco. This is a great hip-hop record. It didn't blow my socks off or anything, but like, It's very hooky. Every beat is just solid. The theming around the samurai and kind of how he represents it through himself is really cool. It's pretty consistent too. Not really many duds. It's just a solid experience all around.
Here we go, one second. Really need, very beautifully, very alliterated.
From Zero by Linkin Park. I've never been like the biggest Linkin Park fan. I've enjoyed songs here and there. I do like appreciate what they were doing and Chester's voice especially. My thoughts on this album. I don't think it should exist. It feels really weird this being under the Linkin Park name. To me, it would have made a lot more sense for them to make the album under a different name because they just have a new singer, right? Emily Armstrong. And I mean, she has a good voice, but it just doesn't feel like it clicks in this right setting. Or in a Linkin Park setting, I guess. It's not bad. I just find it to be weird that it exists. It almost just feels a little bit like a money grab. I feel like the reason why they didn't make it under a different name is because the Linkin Park name is as big as it is, right? I just think it's a little weird. To me, it feels more like an imitation than a original record. Older by Lizzie Alpine. I've heard the name before. I have a couple friends that like Lizzie Alpine. Initially, I wasn't like fully sold, just because it kind of felt like just another singer-songwriter record, but I do think the songwriting does get a little bit more interesting and more memorable as it keeps going. I love me the folky sounds. I like the personal lyricism. Up on Gravity Hill by Metz. Heard the name, first experience with the music, and it rips. It's a good album. Love me some noise rock. Most of the time, you will not hear me say no to that. Again, I love the longer-winded moments, a little bit more, no reservation. Love Comes Crashing. Also, Light Your Way Home is kind of just a shoegaze song. Love Heart Cheat Code by Hiatus Coyote. Another just very, very well-performed, beautiful-sounding soul record. Very, very good vocals and very smooth performances. If Butter was an album, I think it would be this one. I can't believe also, I gotta mention it. There's a song about BMO on this album, and I just think that is so fucking cute. It's called BMO is Beautiful. It's so sweet. It's so adorable. I love Adventure Time. I love BMO. Also, Cinnamon Temple was a huge surprise, just being a lot thicker with the guitars and just a lot of energy out of nowhere, but I'm totally all for it. It was great. I might butcher this. I think this is how you pronounce it. Yen Fodelse by Sleepyhead. This is a user-made album sent to me over on Album of the Year. A great person, awesome human being, and this is just a really good ambient album. Like, this is really, really good. I've been falling asleep to this a lot throughout the year. I'm gonna throw it right here. It's genuinely such a beautiful, serene, relaxing listen. I highly, highly recommend it. The album cover is very reminiscent of the sound to me, so please go check it out if you're into ambient stuff. It is just really, really well made. Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. A very nice sounding singer-songwriter project, but I didn't find too much about it to be super memorable. Midas by Wonder Horse. This is a band I've really been digging lately. Plenty of the songs on this project really stuck with me. Just really solid, kind of back to basics rock music, kind of has an alt-rock vibe, but it's still memorable, just especially with the vocals. I think the vocals are super unique. He has a sort of timbre to his voice that strikes me as passionate and hungry, you know? I really, really, really enjoyed the title track, Midas. It has been on repeat for so long. It is so catchy. It is so earwormy. I love the vocals in the chorus. They're just so funny and fun. The la 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 la. July is another song on that record that I really love. It sounds almost like a grunge song from the 90s, like straight out of like a Alice in Chains sort of thing, and it kicks ass. That shit fucking hits when the drums come in. Oh my god. Give Wonder Horse a shot if you don't know about them. I think they are very much deserving. How to Disappear by Casey. Some shoegazy almost, post-hardcore, which is interesting. But I do find it just to fall a little bit flat on the ears after a little while. Not a bad listen, though. Scrapyard by Quadeca. I am a very big Quadeca fan now, and this was a very interesting mixtape album sort of thing. Sort of ended up being a mixed bag for me personally. And again, this is coming from someone who genuinely thinks I Didn't Mean to Haunt You is like a masterpiece. I think some songs just feel a little bit too kind of scattered. I mean, I get that's kind of the point of the album, but it just, for my ears personally, it didn't do too much. Mainly the song like Easier and A La Carte even, which I expected to like maybe a little bit more. But that being said, there are some fantastic songs on here. The main songs that I really, really loved were Way Too Many Friends. I think that one's so hooky. Under My Skin is great. Guide Dog is a beautiful acoustic song. I hope to see more of that side of him. It was just a very special, kind of short, emotional acoustic song. It's great. Texas Blue with Kevin Abstract is insane. Great piano. Great kind of layered vocals, great evolution. It's a great track. But my absolute favorite is the song You Tried That Thing Where You're Human, which genuinely gives me shivers, chills. It's so bare bones. It's so raw. Sounds like he's actually about to start crying on that song. So yes, some really, really good moments here. Just a bit of a scattered listen. I would still overall put it in the 7 out of 10 world. And I want to put it higher, I really do. But I think I'm going to put it right here. As Grand As by Grand Mahogany. Feeling the funk. That's what this one's all about. Totally respect the vibe. Get why people are liking it. I think it's just, again, maybe a little too scattered. I feel like some of the song ideas blend together in a strange way, just for me personally. But I do think the performances are really good. To All Trains by Shellac. I believe this is the final Shellac album because of Steve Albini, who passed away. Definitely a legend in the music scene. I mean, it does kick ass, you know? I feel like most of the shit that Steve Albini is a part of really just rocks your socks off. It's raw, it's aggressive, it goes hard. That's enough for me to enjoy. I really like the song I Don't Fear Hell. That is honestly a very good send-off song in a way to Steve Albini's career. It's almost unsettling, kind of in retrospective. What Do We Do Now by Jay Massis? I think that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Singer of Dinosaur Jr., I'm pretty sure, which is pretty cool. Nothing like super duper immediately striking as unique, but I think the jangly sort of vibes and the recognizable voice does a pretty good job at just being a nice listen. Love Gaze by Nyla Hunter. Honestly, I found this to be a very relaxing listen, and maybe a tad underrated. It can get a tad one note at points, but I do really enjoy the dreamy vibe overall. Shadowbox by Mavi. This is a very cool album, very abstract, kind of wonky, but some really cool beats, some really good production and samples. It has a bit of a sadder tone to it, which I really like. The Giver is a really good example of that, and I also really like Drunk Prayer. Underdressed at the Symphony by Faye Webster. Very, very pleasant listen. Anything Faye Webster does, I feel like, is going to be just nice on the ears. Beautiful vocals. I really like the song Thinking About You, and I love the piano melody too, But Not Kiss. Some moments maybe feel a little too minimal, but overall, very nice listen. No Hands by Joey Valence and Bray. This is just a fun album. It's like modern Beastie Boys. That's literally the best way I can describe it. I really don't know how you can't at least somewhat enjoy what's going on here. It's just like hilarious lyricism and songs that genuinely bump. Like The Baddest is hilarious, but oh my god, that shit bumps. It goes crazy. I'm the baddest bitch in this club. Both members have a ton of synergy and just, it's all around such a good vibe. I like the Garden sort of energy to Like a Punk. The Danny Brown verse on Pack-a-Punch is also great. Buss It is great. Yeah, it's just fun. It's so fun. I totally recommend this if you just want to have a good dandy old time and maybe laugh a little bit.
I don't wanna go, I want to get down. Drop it low and kind to get dumb. I'm the baddest bitch in this club. I'm the baddest bitch in this club.
Accelero by Kryzen Da Z-O, if that's how I pronounce that, I think. This is a wild one. This is like kind of a hip-hop album with kind of funk vibes and also kind of like a Death Grips vibe too. It's so weird. It is so weird. Maybe a little bit too weird for me, but it's super, out there and fun. Your Day Will Come by Channel Beads. An album with plenty of interesting indie-inspired songwriting ideas, but doesn't really have full-on groundwork for me. Filthy Underneath by Nadine Shah. Bit of a post-punk vibe, hit or miss vocals, but cool ideas. I really like Sad Lads Anonymous. It feels very reminiscent of Dry Cleaning, if y'all know that band. Don't Forget Me by Maggie Rogers. Well performed, well produced. Folk pop record, just doesn't stand out all too much to me. When Angels Cry by Jev. One of the more sonically interesting hip-hop albums I've heard this year, and that's why I like it a little bit more. I think a song like Alice is one of the best hip-hop songs of the year. The beat and sample is just really, really good. I think Wonderland is super cool. The switch up in the halfway point is awesome. Wipe My Tears and The Killer She-Wolf are both great too. His delivery does sound a lot like Kendrick though, I will point that out. No Name by Jack White. We took a time machine back to the 2000s. This is just back to basics, banger-ass garage rock tunes from Jack White. I've always been a fan of his solo stuff, and when I heard this one, I really liked it, but I sat with it some more, and it grew on me a little bit, and it's just a really good time, just bangers across the entire track list. The first 3 songs are all fucking kick-ass. Old Scratch Blues has an amazing riff. Bless Yourself goes so hard. I love the fucking lyrics to that song too. That's How I'm Feeling is just a super energetic pump up song. Archbishop Harold Holmes is a very interesting story. Love the kind of rambly nature to his vocals on that one. Terminal Arch Enemy Ending is great. Morning at Midnight, number 1 with a Bullet, that one goes hard. Yeah, it's really fucking solid track list. The whole promotion of this album was so crazy. He like released it on a Google Drive or whatever, and then he finally dropped the whole thing on all platforms and all that. It's a very creative way to do that sort of thing, and I mean, it's definitely like a true fan's like pleaser album in a way.
That's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling right now. I got information hanging by a thread, so why don't you put it? Are you feeling blessed? Are you feeling blessed?
Phaser by Helado Negro. Simple but effective. I think the songwriting here just is kind of smooth, maybe a little bit more simplistic, but some of these songs have a groovier and catchier feel that keep it interesting, like Best for You and Me. Flores is a really great song, nice acoustic vibes on that one. Self-titled by Bleachers. It's an album that exists. It's another one of those. It's fine alt-pop stuff, I guess. I don't know. It's just there for me. MG Ultra by Machine Girl. This album fucking bangs. I really like a lot of what Machine Girl has to offer as an artist. It is so worth your time. It's so detailed. There's so much going on. The production is just fucking insane. Like genuinely, like every second something different is happening. Whether it's just a slight noise or a whole switch up, it's crazy. It's crazy. Machine Girl's always been like that, but this album is a great showcase of that. This album also is a showcase of some of the catchier moments in Machine Girl's career, like Until I Die. That one's been on repeat for me a lot lately. That's a great chorus, really cool like sample sort of effect on it. Psychic Attack is up there with some of the best Machine Girl songs. Super intense, super like full throttle. It's great. I love Grindhouse. That might be my favorite on the album. Go to the club and blast that shit, and it just gets people turned. I saw Machine Girl live on the tour for this album, and it was an insane experience. The best way I could describe it is 48-hour rave in 30 minutes. That's like... People Who Aren't There Anymore by Future Islands. I know people like this one this year. Not the biggest fan of the vocals. I know I have that. It's been a continuing thing with some of these albums, but just not the biggest fan of the vocals. I don't know. I think the synth pop vibe is nice. I get the appeal. Just, yeah. I've Been Here Before by Eric the Architect. An album where I can see myself returning to a select few songs. I don't know about the entire project, but it was an interesting listen. I think Breaking Point especially is a great song. Super catchy chorus. But then you have a song like Beef Patty, and it's just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Letter to Self by Sprints. Garage rocky, post-punky sort of deal here. A lot of really fiery instrumentals, with just not the most standout songwriting to me in the world, but I definitely still appreciate it for the performances. My Light, My Destroyer by Cassandra Jenkins. Vibey, indie. Voice doesn't stand out too crazy much, but foundations are enjoyable. I do like the song Delphinium Blue. Very spacey, nice vibes there. The Genuine Articulate by The Alchemist. Very vibey, very fun, really hard-hitting beats, very creative, fun bars. Samples are great, honestly just very solid all around. Self-Titled by Foxing. This one really caught me off guard. I knew about Foxing and their earlier work, which is really good. And then out of nowhere, I hear a clip of the song Hell 99, which is like the most insane, screamo, like heavy, fucking noisy, crazy shit ever. And I'm like, what? When did this band go that direction? So then I listen to this and I'm like, wow, what an experience. They were more emotionally like emo before. This is just relentless. But it doesn't end there with the just really, really good tunes. Like, there are some more expansive moments. Secret History has such an insane drop. One of the best drops of the year. Very unique dynamically, too. Greyhound is more expansive, as I was saying, and kind of post-rocky, like a little bit. Love the hard as fuck breakdown on Spit. Yeah, just so many bangers. This thing's awesome. Crazy to hear this band really just step away. Or go in a different direction from what I totally knew from them. Audio Vertigo by Elbow. Harmless art rock. Didn't stand out too much to me overall, but it was very nice. Classic vibes on this with some indie tinges, and I also really like the sound of the drums. Flight B741 by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. What kind of year would it be without a new King Gizzard record? This one's super fun and kind of like bluesy and groovy. The first song, Mirage City, it took me 3 full listens to gather if I liked it or not, and I ended up really clicking with it, so. I also love the riff to Field of Vision. That is so sick. La Risk is a great song, and I like the expansive closer. That is Daily Blues. The Great Impersonator by Halsey. This is a spicy one. It's not necessarily for me personally, but I do want to say I totally respect the subject matter and circumstance around the album. Overall, it's just like not entirely my sound. Very scattered. I'm just not the biggest fan of the vocals either. But again, that's just me. And either way, respect to Halsey. And I hope she's doing okay. 3+5 by Melt Banana. If Cocaine was an album, this would be the album, because holy shit, this album, like, this is an insane listen. A noise rock band that hasn't released an album in like 11 years or whatever. I heard their album Fetch this year, right before this one came out, and I loved that one. And I didn't expect to fucking click with this band as much because the vocals are so weird, but genuinely so hard to ignore how talented these people are. The guitars are fucking insane. If you just want insanity in sound form, go listen to this. My favorite song is Puzzle. Fission by Dead Poet Society. The notes I have on this album, it's like a mesh of Måneskin, Royal Blood, Nothing But Thieves, and Death from Above. I think that's the vibe. In hindsight, that sounds like it would be kind of awesome, but I don't know. It sometimes works because there's some hard as fuck riffs, like genuinely. Maybe just not entirely my cup of tea with the vocals or songwriting as much as a band like Royal Blood or Nothing But Thieves. Nobody Loves You More by Kim Deal, who I believe is the bassist of the Pixies. Nothing mind-blowing, but it's nice. I think it's better than the Pixies record that came out this year, for sure. Maybe just slightly more unique. I really like Nobody Loves You More. Some nice horns on that song. That's pretty sick. GNX by Kendrick Lamar. Wow, yeah, I did not expect Kendrick to drop a record this year. I just remember waking up the morning this came out, and the internet was just fucking blowing up. Like, everywhere I looked, I just saw that it was like, Kendrick dropped an album, Kendrick dropped an album. And yeah, it's pretty good. Do I like it as much as Good Kid, Mad City, or even Mr. Morale, or what I've heard of To Pimp a Butterfly? No, not personally, but there are some really good songs like Reincarnated. Oh my god, the lyrics on that song are so fucking good. Whacked Out Murals is a fucking badass opener too. It's just not as like grand, but I mean, he's a fucking great lyricist, great rapper, as always. I mean, what can you fucking say about Kendrick? Believe it or not, I have heard To Pimp a Butterfly before, but it was literally like 5-6 years ago. I remember nothing about it, so I really need to get around to listening to that one. I know it's crazy being a music nerd and not having heard To Pimp a Butterfly, so I will do that. Maybe let me know if y'all want a video on it. You know, I'd be down for that. Smile by Porter Robinson. Oh my fucking god, I was looking forward to this album. I am such a big Porter Robinson fan now, honestly. I can say that because Nurture is like one of the best electronic albums I've ever heard in my life. Even Worlds is great too. Like, he has a great thing going on, and he dropped Cheerleader, and it just completely piqued my interest for what he was going to do next. It was so fun, maybe more like directly pop influence, and honestly the album lived up to everything I could have wanted it to be. It's definitely not as like directly emotional as a album like Nurture, but it has a very emotional kind of undertone over like the bright and cheery synths and the sound palette. I think he just pulls it off so well, and I think a lot of the stuff here is very like charming and kind of weird, but also a lot of fun. Like, some of these lyrics are kind of hilarious. Like, in Knock Yourself Out, there's the "Bitch, I'm Taylor Swift" line. Russian Roulette is genuinely emotional. That one is definitely a more directly emotional one. I don't even want to go into the topic of that song too much because it's going to make me cry, but it's very heavy, honestly. And it does it in a tongue-in-cheek sort of way too, but still feels very genuine, which is really cool. One of the songs that I have been replaying the most out of any song on the album is Kitsune Mason Freestyle, believe it or not. I didn't think I would click with that one as much as I did, but that chorus is one of the best choruses of the year. It's so catchy. It's so catchy. I'm singing along to that shit. Every single time it comes on in the car. One of the more low-key tracks too, but it's just so well written. I love the theming around it too. The chorus lyrics are "Didn't you see this coming? Everything you thought you wanted was made out of nothing. It's been a long time coming. Every cliche is true. I just want to have this moment with you." That's so well written. I love that. I love Mona Lisa with the Frost Children. Frost Children add a lot to it. A lot of personality. Very, very fun. Even some of the more low-key moments, Easier to Love You and Everything to Me, those grew on me a lot. I initially thought they were just kind of okay, but I do really appreciate them now. Even though I think I still do prefer Nurture, it still is definitely an awesome step forward and a kind of different world for Porter Robinson.
It's not fair.
Still by Erica D. Kaiser? It's an R&B album that I can tell was very well put together, just not my vibe really. Still in the R&B genre, we have Where the Butterflies Go in the Rain by Ravenna. Very pretty. Super vibrant, beautiful, and strong vocals. Makes me feel like a butterfly. So, kind of hard to dislike it. Amazing harmonies on the song Pluto. Post-Human Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah, what the fuck is this album? This one's interesting. Very, very all over the place. It's switching genres left and right, with kind of a overall basis of metal and metalcore. It's entertaining, for sure. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say that, but is it my vibe? I don't know. I think it might get a little too edgy and cheesy for me sometimes. Mainly on, like, Die For You, Lost, stuff like that. Also, the little Uzi Vert thing on Amen is crazy. What the fuck? Hammer of My Own by Close By. Band I found from Instagram, and it's a solid indie rock album with a huge standout on it, which is Pilates. That's the song that drew me in. The album doesn't live up to that song, in my opinion, but that song is fucking amazing. So check that song out if you like indie rock at all. Dennis by Sega Bodega. Completely random find for me. I liked it. Cool stuff here. Nice songwriting, engaging textures, mixes a lot of genres with an overall sort of electric vibe. I like how glitchy some of these songs can be too. Like the high energy on Kepco. Makes me want to go to a rave on some of these tracks, honestly. Strange Burden by Font was a last minute listen. I checked it out because it was post-punk, and I heard some decently positive things about it. Not sold on the vocals, but the instrumentals are super punchy. Paddle Prod has a really cathartic ending, and really good guitars on it. This is a band with potential. Like, I know this is a band with potential, so I will be keeping an eye out. Where's My Utopia by Yard Act? I've been really wanting to like Yard Act more. I still haven't really fully clicked with them yet, though. This is a step closer there, I will say. The instrumentals are fucking incredible. Just didn't stick with me as much as some of the other post-punk releases. It's a unique listen. And I totally respect it. I just hope I can eventually, like, say that I like this band, and maybe this will be a grower. I love the album cover, though. That's a fucking awesome album cover. I might butcher this. I apologize if I do. Mahogako by Hakushi Hasegawa. Another album that sounds like cocaine. Glitch pop on steroids. Just literally fucking off the walls. It feels like a bunch of needles are being stabbed into my face. I liked it overall, maybe a little too much for me in some areas, but I mean, it is very impressive. There are surprisingly some pretty moments too, with Forbidden Thing that I actually really enjoyed. The Dream of Delphi by Bat for Lashes. Art pop, nice production, it's sweet, it's short, straight to the point, some nice ambient touches. The first half is my favorite part. I feel like the second half, it does dip down just a little bit, but the title track is really good. Love the synth arpeggio on that one. What a Devastating Turn of Events by Rachel Chino Yuriri. Indie rock with a pop flair. All around just solid. Favorite moment, Cold Call. Really cool explosion in that one. And I also really liked The Hills and All I Ever Asked. Fearless Movement by Kamasi Washington. This is a very impressive album. Maybe not something I've returned to that much, but it would be like a fucking crime if I didn't say I was very, very impressed with this. I know a lot of people liked this more than I did, and the only reason why I wouldn't put it higher is just because I haven't returned to it as much, but I still do really appreciate it for the performances here. I mean, there are fucking opuses and odysseys on this thing. Just insane jazz fusion. Give it a listen if you like soul and jazz stuff that with just a lot of fucking insane playing. Don't Jinx It by Sugar Pit. Very excited to talk about this one and also just praise this artist. I've been following them for a little bit now, kind of just through Instagram I found them. I just really enjoyed his personality and his kind of lively, fun videos, and I've been really waiting for him to release a full length, and he finally did, and it's really good. I really like it. So much charm, so much fun to be had with this album. Dance, punk, post-punk, all of the song topics here are just kind of hilarious. Nothing like super immediately emotional or striking in that sense, but it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. Magic is a fucking banger. Go listen to that one. I also really love Making Friends with the Cops. That has a great hook. Dirty Laundry, Rockstar Fantasy. Oh, that's probably my favorite. It's played as like this character who's like living this normal life, like at a desk job, and they're like, I want to be something more. I want to be a rock star. Tools of Mass Destruction is another really catchy one. Back to the Start has a very meta ending to it as well. I genuinely like hope to see him thrive as the years go on, because he really has an irreplaceable personality. Twice Around the Sun by Ugly. This is an EP that is basically an album. I don't know why they wouldn't call it an album. I was initially a little bit hit or miss with it, but I definitely really started to get a grasp of it. The more I sat with it, the more I re-listened. It's a really creative project. Some moments even reminded me of Animal Collective. There are some very like a cappella focused sections in here. And there's a lot of genre switching. There's like progressive folky moments and then like art rock and indie rock moments. It's so weird. Hands of Man was the song that really struck me. I think that one just has a great progression, and I love the vocals and kind of the Sufjan vibe going on with that one. It's Sorted by Cheekface. Still never really fully clicked with Cheekface. I think this album is just another perfectly decent display of their sound. They still are very tongue-in-cheek, and it's still fun, for sure. And I do really like some select songs from their catalog, like All Before You by The Voids. First thing I gotta say is boo! AI album cover, boo! Such a shame to see Julian Casablancas and The Boys go with that. Like, really? Come on, guys. That's lame. The album itself, though, I think it's kind of decent. Honestly, like, putting aside my frustration with the album cover, I know a lot of people didn't like it, and maybe that was inspired from the album cover too, but putting that aside, I thought some of these songs were pretty good. I really, really like Prophecy of the Dragon. I was kind of surprised there. Flexorcist, Seven Horses, and Perseverance are also pretty good ones, but it is hard for me to listen to an album like this. My thought process with this whole deal is it's like, if you're gonna make AI art and use it for your album cover, why should we care about the art that you're making? You know, it's just a very like conflicting thing to be doing as an artist. So heavily no-go on the album cover, but I think the album's pretty good. Bird's Eye by Raven Lene. This was really good. Very, very well put together. Crisp, smooth vocals, very sweet production, and guitars and beats, really great bass lines and tight grooves. One Wish with Childish Gambino is great. I think that's one of the best things he's done recently. I also love Love Me Not. Very instantaneous, really stellar drums. It really makes her vocal style open up a bit too, which I really like. Rat Taxi by Louis Zong. This is a fun one. This one's so fun. I fucking love this one. This is like just such a funky, vibey, groovy listen. It literally just feels like you're in a busy underground rat city. Cheesy Street is hilarious, and I actually love the fucking vocal feature on that track. I just imagine like a little rat just on the mic, just going at it. I haven't even indulged myself that much in this genre, but I really like the jazzy, funky groove here. It's just so instantaneously lovable. Traffic Jam, Rush Hour, Basement Boogie, all just awesome.
Red taxi, got cheese on the trap looking at me. Red taxi.
Lechid Da by Bill Ryder Jones, a record I heard from earlier on in the year that definitely caught my attention. Very passionate vocals, a lot of life in the instrumentation. The strings throughout this are lovely. My favorite is Thankfully for Anthony. Just so impactful. The ending is so euphoric. The kids' choir at the end of It's Today Again is really, really cool too. I'm a fan. It's very kind of singer-songwriter-y, but also a bit more expansive than just kind of a bare-bones singer-songwriter listen. Aghori Mohori May? Is that how you say that? I don't know. I hope. The Smashing Pumpkins, their new record. I have not been keeping up with their recent material, but I've heard some kind of not so great things about them and their new material, but this feels a little bit more back to basics, and I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely nothing, like, insane for them. Paradise State of Mind by Foster the People. Honestly, Foster the People is a group I do respect. I grew up with them a good bit, or at least a few of their songs. Definitely a little bit brighter than I feel like some of their other stuff, but it's consistently good. Hashtag Rich Ash Haitian, I think that's how you say it, by Makami. The sound here is good. I really like Copy Cold. The Black Thought feature is really great. I mean, I feel like anything Black Thought touches is going to be great, honestly. But yeah, I mean, the topics of this album are very important, I feel. I feel like a lot of these songs are talking just about the state of the world today. I mean, just a lot is going on, right? I feel like that's kind of obvious, but they do a great job at diving into some topics here. Maybe some songs could be a little more expanded upon, in my opinion, but I do like this one a good bit. Down There by Folly Group. I fuck with post-punk. That means I fuck with this album. Groovy, very fun melodies, a good time. Frame is a fantastic song. Check that one out if you haven't heard this album or this band. Liam Gallagher and John Squire, self-titled. So whatever. It's just such a whatever album to me. Just very bland instrumentals, in my opinion. Liam Gallagher, I feel like, has gotta switch it up in some way at this point in his career. 5 Dice, All Threes by Bright Eyes. Right As is a band I honestly do really respect. I've started to gain some more appreciation for them, and I'm hoping to click with some of their earlier material even more. But this new one, it's decent. Instrumentally, they're always really solid, and I think that's where this album shines. Songwriting-wise, it's fine. The skits are fun, but I feel like they can get a little much, especially in the pacing department. Foulinium by George Clanton and TV Girl. What a weird collab. I was a bit nervous with this one, because I'm a pretty damn big George Clanton fan. He's just fucking incredible with his atmospheres and his songwriting. It's so psychedelic and entrancing. Foulinium is honestly great. I'm glad it turned out to be as good as it did. I think George Clanton overshadows TV Girl, which I was kind of a little bit hoping for, not gonna lie. But even with that being said, there's some great work being done on this album. I just think production-wise, George Clanton knows what the fuck is up, and the psychedelic atmosphere to this one totally works. My hot take with this album is I think The Sweet Life is the best song. I know that's like one of the least favorite ones on it, but I really think it's great. I love just the atmosphere and especially the chorus melody. Almost feels like something that could have ended up on Slide, if I'm gonna be honest. By the way, I just have to throw it out there. Slide is such a good album. If you haven't heard that, Slide by George Clanton, oh my god, go do yourself a favor. If you like psychedelic, neo-psychedelia stuff, it's so good. Really love the vocal feature on Butterflies. Really like the beat and the synth melody, and the fake out ending is cool. I definitely enjoyed that. Everything Blue is great, super catchy. Summer 2000 Baby is also catchy. I wish there was more of it. It's only 7 songs, but what we got was great. Oh my god, we're wrapping it up. We are doing it. Oh my god. What Happened to the Beach by Declan McKenna. Very scattered, but very fun, and I think it overall wins me over with the fun. I think there's some great songs, especially fucking Nothing Works. I think that one is just super earwormy, super hooky. The fuzzy nature to it is great with the guitars. Mezzanine is really catchy too. Elevator Hum is cool. I know people were a bit hit or miss with it, and again, I get why it's very scattered, but Declan McKenna always brings some good, catchy melodies to the table, so that's why I think it won me over. Cascade by Floating Points. While slightly repetitive in some areas, you kind of have a pretty nice progressive vibe to this album. Very electronic-centric. No vocals, but still pretty engaging, and I can give an album that. When a Thought Grows Wings by Luna Lee. Nice indie rock that didn't completely blow me away, maybe outside of the song Bon Voyage, which really cool ending to that one. The building nature to it and this kind of subtle first half is just great. But yeah, I mean, this one's worth a shot if you like indie for sure. Patterns in Repeat by Laura Marling. Very glad to see people were enjoying this one. I mean, it's just so well crafted, so well made. Very, very soothing, beautiful vocals. This is definitely a stress relief album if I've ever heard one. Love the guitar work on Patterns. That immediately struck my ear. Somber vibes on the title track. Child of Mine. No One's Gonna Love You Like I Can. Good stuff. Blue Raspberry by Katie Kirby. Folky, singer-songwritery, soothing. It's another one kind of in the same realm as the one I just talked about, actually. Just very soothing, very nice. Really enjoyed the song table. That one is a little bit more indie rock driven compared to the rest of the album, but yeah. Unwired Detour by Asian Glow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is this gonna be the last Asian Glow album? I feel like I heard that somewhere, and that kind of sucks if that's true, but this one didn't do it quite as much for me as something like A Stalled Flutes. But there's a song with Quadeca on it, and that's fucking cool. Tunnel of Glass. That shit's awesome. He's got his shoegazier thing going on, as always, but it's maybe a little bit more subdued. Theo by Luke DeCiccio, another album sent to me by the artists themselves, and this is beautiful. This is really fucking cool. It's about the birth of his daughter, I'm pretty sure, and kind of like all the feelings that come along with it. Very stripped back, maybe somewhat one note at times, and I think that's why maybe it wouldn't go up here. Cannot deny the absolutely incredible talent coming from the guitar playing and the vocals. The vocals are stunning, especially on a song like Spinning. Oh my god, the ending of that song sends chills down my spine. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. Please go listen to that one if you were to listen to one song off this one. Venus, Zara Larsson, fine pop album. I don't even know really why I listened to this one. It was just kind of a random one. Sometimes the production can feel so squeaky clean to the point where it like almost hurts my ears a little bit. And finally, oh my god, last one. Holy shit. Okay, last one. We're ending with a fucking banger. Lip Critic with their album Hex Dealer. This shit bangs. This shit is so fun. Industrial punk, sort of. Really outdid themselves. Such a fantastic debut. So much aggression. It's like a cracked out electronic version of The Garden. That's the best way I can describe it to anyone who understands that. Production is insane. So much energy. Creative songwriting. The singer is super unique. Who do they remind me of? They reminded me of someone. They're pretty damn unique. They're pretty, like, if you hear them, you'll know exactly what I mean. Literally no duds, all bangers. Just genuinely, I fucking love so many of the songs on this thing. In the Wawa has such a good, like, fucking breakdown at the end. So sick. I love Toxin Dodger. Actually, one of the catchier songs. Love Will Redeem You was the song that actually initially grabbed my ear with this one and really got me invested. It's the Magic is a great opener, though. Really kind of dramatic and definitely very fitting as an opening track. The drums on this album are very, like, garagey. It feels like they were recorded in a garage with like 2 mics. Oh, another one I gotta mention is My Wife and the Goblin. That one is very short, but literally sounds just like a Garden song. But yeah, I mean, this album kicks so much ass. I'm glad we end with it, and I just highly, highly recommend it if you like punk at all, because it's such a exciting, interesting, consistent listen to me. That all being said, oh my god, we are done. Am I a nerd? Yes. I've done this in like maybe 5 or 6 sessions. I think I have maybe 7 or 8 hours of footage. So, I'm gonna go edit that and see what happens. But again, thank you all so much for watching. If you got to the end of this, you're a trooper. You're a fucking trooper. Hello, it is future me. Oh my god. I spent 3 months around that number, editing this video. I have never spent so long editing a video, and I'm never doing this again. I need to figure out a different format for the end of the year stuff, especially if I'm doing this many albums. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it again if I don't listen to, 270 plus albums. But yeah, I'll figure that out later. But my god, I am very tired of editing this video. I'm glad I'm done. I'm ready to move on and make like other videos. But yeah, as I said, you're a trooper if you made it here. Thank you so much for watching. God, I don't know what else to say. I'm just very tired. Have a good day and night, whatever y'all are doing. See ya.